Welcome in to the virtual Brownsburg, Indiana, the home of the Lucas Oil Indianapolis Raceway Park, the site of tonight's Blazing Pedals ARCA League race for 250 laps around this short track. Welcome, everyone. My name is Derrick Watson, sitting alongside Premier Sim Racing Season 1 champion Richard Regan Jr. and real-life short track racer. Rich, when I told you where the track was tonight and the cars, you got excited about this.
Yeah, the car definitely is fun to drive around here. There's going to be multi-groove racing, so it'll be good to see the top line be used for defense and the bottom lane used for offense tonight.
Yeah, we'll see that happen all night long. And let's take a look at the schedule and see where we are here. Here we are, June 8th, Lucas Oil. So the stages tonight, 50 for the first lap, 100 for the first stage, 100 ends the second stage, and then we'll go all the way to the end to 250 laps. Next week, we're off for Father's Day, so you can celebrate there. Then we're back for Sonoma and Old Atlanta before being off for the 4th of July weekend, and then Chicagoland and Kansas. Rich, what a very eclectic schedule here. Which of these tracks do you think poses probably the biggest challenge to these ARCA cars?
I'm going to probably say Old Atlanta with how bumpy and old that surface is and how high the speeds will be there. Definitely will be interesting to watch.
Very weird schedule in a terms of there's no consistency here. But let's take a look at the points. Here's where it is consistent. Justin Levine is still your leader, 20 points over Dalton Kilrow. Back to TBB in third, 525. And then 494 to Mark Arthur. Zimmerman, Dees, Perkins, Carroll, Gibson, and Harmon round out your top 10. Rich, we're not even a third of the way through the season. So right now, if you were Justin Levine, being a season champion yourself, how do you manage this? Do you go out and do you just race every race like the hardest? Do you think about points management? What would be your approach here in a very long season?
I definitely wouldn't think about points management. You just got to go out there and do the same thing you do every week and treat every race the same, and that's how you'll get your consistency.
Yeah, well, consistency is important. What's also consistent is the team points. Once again, 2 dudes racing at 5 points. They are 3 points up on Pit Lizard, 1 Sim, and then 4 points up on Blackhawk, MFRD, and 5 Kings. Remember, the system's a little different. They take the averages of all finishers on your team, take your best and your worst finisher, take the average of them, and whoever has the best average wins a point. So 2 dudes has been the best averaging team 5 out of the 10 or 11 times we've run a race this season, out of the 12 times we've run this season. So then you see your team points. Well, let's go and take a look into qualifying. It's already underway, about halfway through here. Let's take a look on track and see these cars around here. So, Rich, walk me through, if you want to be successful in qualifying, what's the optimal line? What's the keys to being great in qualifying here as watching Dustin Pink?
It's definitely going to be fastest lap on your second lap. So that first lap, you want to just break in your tires nice and easy, get everything up to temp, and then you're going to want to make sure you get a nice run off of 3 and 4 coming to take the white flag, which is going to be your money lap. And just don't overdrive the entries of both ends of the corners. You got to make sure you get in good, but make sure you can get that car pointed in the center so that way you can put the throttle down on the straightaway and get that good run off.
So as I take a look at this track, one thing that stands out to me, Rich, is you look at the walls here and look how there's a sponsor here, there's a Kroger sponsor, a couple, but as we head into the corners, really no markings. You see some billboards up top maybe. So for a track with no really visible wall markings coming into a corner, watch it get into turn 1. What do you use for braking points here? How do you determine what a braking point is with a track with really no identifiable markers?
Down the back stretch, down the front stretch, I usually use the pit wall, and I'll have like a couple of car lengths before the pit wall ends, and that's kind of my braking point. And then there's a couple of signs on the inside wall down the back stretch that you can also use as braking points. But most of these guys tonight will probably just be going off of feel and what they're hearing from the engine.
Fair enough. Well, here's the purple car of William Bruton. He is right now working his first lap. You see the time ticking away here. You see right now Austin Derbyshire is our pole sitter. Bruton's going to come around at a 22.357. That'll put him up on the board towards the bottom. So right now your top time is a 21.879. So let's see if Bruton improves here.
Yeah, one guy I'm looking for here is the 28 of Brian Zimmerman. The top 5 in practice were all within about a tenth of each other, and most of them were within a half a tenth. So a lot of these guys are picking up like 3 to 4 tenths from practice to qualifying, and I know a couple of those guys that were on top of the board at practice were setting fast laps at the end there. So You see the 28 there a second ago on your screen, and he's sitting on pit road just waiting for that perfect time to roll off.
Now you see the 60 car. Remember, this is a 10-minute qualifying session, so some drivers do want to wait. They want to wait and see if maybe they get the perfect amount of weather. Maybe they want to know what timing to set. They want a goal set for themselves or different factors. Here's that 28, the Howling machine. That stuck around from last week. Rich, last week this league did a throwback week at the Rock at Rockingham, so Brian's going to stick with that paint scheme, and of course does remind you of old classic NASCAR. So here he's around for the first time. Let's see if he can beat Derbyshire. So in this 10-minute session, if it were you, do you like waiting until the last minute to qualify? And if so, why? What stands out to you about waiting?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially, this is an evening race, so later on in the afternoon. And, the more the sun sets, the colder the track temp's going to get. We had a significant drop of track temp between practice and qualifying. And then throughout the race, the ambient temperature is going to drop quite a bit. So definitely want to wait to try to get that cooler track temp because it's worth a lot of time on the long run.
Watching Zimmerman come through the corner here. Want to see the second time. Can't be better. 21.901 the first time by. A little loose out of the corner, so that back end come around a little bit as he was coming out of the corner. And the 21.876 marginally better for Brian Zimmerman, and that's going to put him on the pole.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we got the 59 on the screen now. We also got the 12 of Mark Arthur, who was the fastest in practice. He's on the racetrack right now getting ready to complete his first lap.
Yep, so Kleinschmidt right here in that red, white, and blue grid vision machine. Here on the track, a 22.14 the first time by. Ooh, got loose, but got way up the hill there. I got because I was going to hit the wall. 21.984. We'll put him on the board back in P8. Here's Mark Arthur and that white and pink Barbie machine. Mark's changed that livery a couple times this season. Rich, at one point, he had a Mario Kart livery on there. Went to Barbie, had a throwback last week, but back to Barbie. I guess the good news is no one can ever claim they didn't see this car in the middle of a wreck, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the advantages to running those bright paint schemes as we see the 12 go to the top of the board there. And you got Taylor Butcher Benjamin on your screen right now. He was also pretty quick in practice. He was fourth fastest, so we'll see what he can get down here. And like I said, as long as you don't overdrive your entries and you roll that center pretty good, you should have a good lap in.
Well, let's see how he does. Ooh, that's a great first lap, a 21.991. If your theory holds true of second laps are faster, I'm excited to see the second lap because the first lap was pretty great. Here comes that Rick and Morty car, the Pickle Rick car, the number 10 out of 3 and 4. And, oh, wow, a little pointed toward the bottom there. And nope, the second lap was faster by about 1/10 of a second. So that puts him up towards the top. And by the way, Mark Arthur took the pole a moment ago.
Yeah, Taylor's definitely going to wish that he could have drove his 3 and 4. Got another shot at driving it, overdrove it just a little bit. But it'll be interesting to see him come through the field. As you see the 33 on your screen now, he was also third in practice, so let's see where he can run on his laps here.
Here comes that black and yellow Loves Racing machine. John Perkins comes around the first time at a 21.825. That's going to move towards the top of the board just on a first lap. Holy crud, that's incredible. Watch that out of the corner. Let's see how 3 and 4 goes. This has been okay, so it looks like we're being told he may hit the wall out of 4 the first time. So that lap does not count, unfortunately. He's going to wish it did, Rich.
Yeah, we'll see if iRacing lets it count for the second lap. And it looks like it did. So that will put him 15th on the board.
Yeah. All right, well, only about 30 seconds to go. So if you're not on track yet and you haven't qualified, you're not going to make it. But here's Trevor Harmon. And this is his second lap. It was slower than the first. A 21.921 is his best. That leaves only 2 cars left, Massengill and Kyle Wellman, and they're not going to get a lap in here. So unless they're on track currently, and I don't believe they are. All right, well, with that, qualifying has wrapped up. Let's go ahead and take a look at tonight's Blazing Pedals starting grid. Up on the pole, the number 12, the Barbie machine of Mark Arthur, part of Two Dudes Racing. We'll start next to Hunter Lagoon in the number 2 spot. Moving back into P3 will be Brian Zimmerman in that 28. We saw him earlier. He'll start next to Austin Edstrom in that Taco Bell number 87 machine. Back in P5 is Dustin Ping in the 81. He'll start next to Justin Levine, also in the Taco Bell machine. That won't be confusing at all tonight. Tanner Marr is back there in P7 next to Cody Gibson in P8 in that Cheetos machine. P9 is TBB, Taylor Butcher Benjamin, the Pennsylvania native, and he'll start next to Rick Thompson, who's part of Speed Mafia. Back in P11 is Trevor Harmon, part of Team 5 Motorsports. He's lined up next to Dalton Kilroe in the number 41 car. Back in row 7, Matthew Kleinschmidt is next to Austin Derbyshire. Those are teammates with Grid Vision. Back in P15 is Brian Dees, the Pennsylvania native. He'll start next to John Perkins. Back in P16. 17th is Larry Bell. He starts next to William Burton. We saw that purple machine earlier, the number 83. Back in P19 is James Evol, and he is next to Joey Neese in the number 58 Kodak machine. 21st, Nicholas Moody, the Ohio native, the Buckeye, will be lined up next to Jess Hadley in the number 50. That's in 22nd place. And then 23rd and 24th, we do not believe are starting the grid, so that is it. That is your 22-car grid. That's a look top to bottom at tonight's starting grid. Okay, they are going to start. So I'm sorry, 23rd is Kyle Wellman. 24th is Mike Massingill. That's the 42 and the 20. All right. Well, Rich, we've gone through the starting grid. So walk me through now. We talked about qualifying. We talked about, maybe your second lap being faster. But now let's move into the race part of this. What is you think are the keys to victory to winning a race at this very infamous, long-standing racetrack?
Yeah, definitely just got to be patient. Take care of your right front tire. It's going to be, that's going to be the most important thing all night long here. And same thing for qualifying. Just don't overcharge your entries and make sure you're rolling your center to get your exits. And on your exits, make sure you're not driving too hard off the right rear. And we'll see who's got patience tonight and who wants to go out for the short run speed. And I think we got some guys in the mid pack like Justin Levine, Taylor Butcher Benjamin, Matt Kleinschmidt, Austin Derbyshire. Those guys will be guys that you're going to want to watch for on the long run here.
Yeah, I think patience will be a word all night long. It's short track racing. So here it is. Look at the track temps. You hinted at it earlier. 89 degrees Fahrenheit here. It's currently about 6:45 p.m. virtual sim time. This is our first of 2 pace laps. The pace car will go around one more time, and then we will call for the green flag. Well, this, of course, the track's been standing for a long time. Opened originally back in 1960, for the longest time, just called Indianapolis Raceway Park. Then it took on the name O'Reilly Auto Parts Park for a while, and then settled on this Lucas Oil name. It's been over about 15 years since we got the Lucas Oil name. I know a lot of long-standing NASCAR fans called it IRP, but no longer really the complete name here. Well, this time by the iRacing pace car will make that turn left down pit road, and then we'll wait for the green flag. We'll wait for Mark Arthur in the 12 to get the green flag and step on the pedal. We're glad you're here with us live tonight here on Green Flag TV. Thanks so much for hanging out, but it is time to start the first of 250 laps of Green Flag racing. Green Flag is out in Indiana. That's your first lap complete. And Rich, I'll tell you what, it didn't take long for the short track element of beating and banging and bumpers and fenders to be used. We saw a little bit of movement, a little bit of bumpers in just the first lap.
Yeah, definitely some hard racing going into turn 1 there. You see a battle right there on your screen with the 7. That's a battle for 6th place. And you see a little bit of side-by-side throughout the pack, but mostly single file. And that's probably what you're going to see early here. Wait for those tires to get all worn out and hot, and then you start trying to pick guys off one by one.
Well, there's the double Taco Bell. Call it the double decker, if you will, for the longtime Taco Bell fans. That is Edstrom up front and Levine in back. There's Trevor Harmon falling way back here. He may have had an incredible save for the 29 car, and he's going to pull back here pretty far back in line. But the good news is that car is still moving. Watch this here, Rich. Just got it a little low out of the corner, right?
Yeah, a little low out of the corner, a little bit too much throttle on those cold tires. So just trying to, you got to babel those tires in, make sure you bring them up all nice and good and equal up to temp, and you just got to really take it easy early here.
Back up front here. This is the battle currently right now. This is Zimmerman, Edstrom, Levine on back. This is third on back. Zimmerman's trying to hold off the Taco Bell duo. Then Dustin Ping's back there. Cody Gibson, who we saw in the 7. in that Cheetos machine. So, Rich, being an older track, this place not really known for its double file racing, not really known for any kind of multi-groove racing. So, as a driver, how do you make a pass here?
You just got to be patient, put a lot of pressure on the guy's bumper in front of you. Obviously, don't make contact and get into him and all that stuff, but you just want to be up there, let him know that you're there in his mirror, and eventually they might make a mistake, and that's when you got to capitalize. Other than that, you really just have to wait until those tires wear out so you got more options around the racetrack.
Look at that, back down in the low 90s of miles per hour for Zimmerman in the corners, up to about 132, 133. That's the range of speed we'll see under green throughout the night and in the beginning of the run here. And then look at that, just as you hinted, single file racing all the way back here. So right now from this camera angle, it's a little hard to tell, but as a whole, from what we've seen in qualifying, do you suspect that loose condition to continue all night, or what do you think happens as the night falls?
I think as the night falls, the track's going to probably tighten up a little bit. They'll get some more rubber down on there too, so it might help that right rear feeling initially, but I think on the long run it's going to get worse because, you're just going to get tighter and tighter every lap, every time you go in the corner here. And those drivers are going to want to try to be pointing the car down towards the apron on the exit and put all that throttle into it. It's going to start breaking the right rear tire loose.
There's Mike Massengill down pit road already, and I'm not sure if that's going to be for damage or if he had a black flag. We'll have to wait and see if we get a word on that, but that's way off cycle for Mike Massengill. By the way, I want to point out, we said Kyle Wellman is on the grid tonight. He's filling in for Brad Lawson, so that's why you'll see Wellman in the same Scooby-Doo mystery machine that we saw Lawson in last week. Oh, there's a bump between teammates. It's kind of fun to see there that back at one sim that it's really not team orders, right? When you can get up there and bump your teammates, that's a good, exciting racing.
Yeah, definitely exciting racing. A little risky for this early in the race. Obviously, we got 250 laps here tonight. As well as we got 2 stages as well, so plenty of time to work your way through the field. I think the 28 of Brian Zimmerman is really focusing on saving his stuff here and going for the long run, so I think that's backing up a lot of these guys that's right behind him, and that's why you're seeing such close racing right now.
So when we see this camera shot here from Dustin Ping, we're riding sort of on the top of the car, and you see how much pressure he's putting on Levine in the 5. Do you think that has anything to do with how hard Levine was racing Edstrom, or is Levine just feeling the pressure from the back and then kind of transferring the energy forward possibly?
Yeah, I don't think he's really racing Edstrom too hard. I think, Edstrom's probably trying to roll the center a little bit, and Justin's like, hey man, we got to get going. We got people on my bumper. So I think there was just a little love tap on misjudging on when you guys are going to pick the throttle back up.
So we wondered why Massengill pitted. Let's take a look. Oh, got way hard in the car in front of him, and then up against the wall. Likely some big damage. That was James Evall, by the way, that he got in the back end of. So, Rich, right there, I know that typically when we refer to toe links, we're talking about the Gen 7 or the next gen car, but probably some pretty good damage to the outside wall, or to the car from the outside wall here. I'm sure the wall was fine.
Yeah, definitely going to damage those control arms in the right front. And, as I said earlier, this track's just going to get tightened up a lot, and it drives off the right front every lap here. So any damage to the right front is going to be catastrophic, most likely tonight.
Well, looking back a little bit here, here's Austin Derbyshire, that black and orange machine, part of one sim. And he's got his teammate there with him, so those guys are doing pretty well. And then you got that black and yellow number 33 on back. That's John Perkins. So it's Perkins, Derbyshire, Kleinschmidt moving forward in that group, and then got Larry Bell on back. There's your first side-by-side battle we've been going to find for a while. There's Kyle Wellman, and he is battling side by side with Bruton here. And so typically when you're racing the bottom in a short track, it just depends on the track, Rich. Sometimes the bottom is the preferred line, but I think at IRP tonight we're going to find that top lane is the way you want to be, right?
Yeah, definitely the top lane is going to be where you want to be if you want to be defensive. But if you save your stuff right, you can make some stuff work on the bottom. It just really depends on the track conditions. As the track cools off, we probably will see the groove go higher and higher towards the wall. So at the end of the race, it's probably going to be more difficult to make passes. But early on here, towards the end of this first stage, we should see some people passing people on the bottom.
Looks like in this first stage a little bit already. Look at that. Perkins is closing in on Derbyshire, and they've left a bit of a gap up to Kleinschmidt here. So it looks like maybe Perkins is slowly kind of trying to find his way around this car. He keeps peeking to the inside. Is that just to kind of, do you think it's to fake Derbyshire out, to kind of make Derbyshire think he's going low? Do you think he has the intent of going low, or What's the motive for kind of shooting to the bottom there?
Yeah, he's probably just trying to get a little bit of clean air on his nose there, so that way he can make the corner a little bit easier. Obviously, with the dirty air, it's harder to turn the car. You get less aero, so more heat and tire wear onto that right front tire, and just chews that tire up really quickly.
Yeah, it seems to be the case right now. Here's a lap car number 50. Everyone's going to go on around and safely, but some cars caught it maybe a little bit better than others. It looks like maybe Edstrom got the good luck there. And then Levine on back had to catch him in the middle of the corner. So that may change up the pace a little bit. But remember, we're now working lap 21 as John Perkins has made the move and made the pass. Remember, this first stage ends on lap 50. Can tell you right now, there's been no change in position up in the top 4. It's still Arthur, Lagoon, Zimmerman, and Edstrom, your top 4. That has not changed since we went green. Levine's up 1 spot to make up your top 5. Does that surprise you at all when I said there's no changes in the top 4?
No, not really. Most of the guys that qualified up front, they usually have good long run pace, and they're very patient drivers, so they know how to take care of their stuff, and they're just trying to set into a rhythm here. And you got Levine back there in 5th and Austin Edstrom in 4th, and they're just hanging on right now, trying to survive where they're at and trying to get this long run finish, so that way they can try to make some track position up on the next restart.
So then you see on the left side, you're going to up on the timing tower. We see the spots gained and lost. You see Larry Bell now all over Austin Derbyshire. At one point, I thought they were going to make contact, but everyone avoided it here. This is the battle back for 15th place. But look at that. Up and down the board, a couple of movers. John Perkins up 2. Brian D's up a few spots. Rick Thompson's up 2. But I mean, only ones really stand out to me, of course, we saw Harmon earlier. He's down 9. But other than that, it's very kind of stagnant so far in this race. Here comes the 76 of Rick Thompson. This is the battle for 7th and 8th with Cody Gibson. So, Rich, you talked about not burning up the right side tires. So talk to someone, maybe they're a family member, a friend who's watching someone in this race. How do you not burn up a right side tire at this track?
You just got to be very disciplined on your throttle. It really all starts with the corner entry, making sure you don't get in too hard to where the right front's all jacked up the whole time. And then you try to get on the power, and you got so much wheel into it that it just wants to overload the right rear. So just got to be patient on entry and really just wait for that car to rotate in the center before you get on the throttle.
And then I think the obvious answer is harder to handle, but what are the signs that you've worn off the right side tires, as you put it?
Well, as you see the 7 there get super loose off of turn 4, that's definitely a sign of wearing out your right rear tire right there, as now they're going to be side by side. He's just going to be looking here to try to fill into a hole in the top lane if he can. It's going to be tough to do because these guys behind him are, they're right there, and they were side by side for a little bit up front. So it closed the gap up behind him. So he's probably just going to end up having to fall behind the 41 and hope and just wait for the next caution to get new tires and try again.
That was TBB in the Rick and Morty car. That was Dalton Kilroy just went by in the 41. So Gibson just fell back to P11 out of the top 10. Why is that important? Because there are stage breaks. There are stage points to be handed out. So currently, right now, Gibson went from being in to being the first driver looking out on missing those points. We'll see that happens. But right now what's happening is this battle from behind. Here's Ping. He's trying to cut to the inside of Justin Levine. Now, we talked about this. Probably is the harder way to do it. But Levine's doing a great job at blocking the top lane. Now Ping slides it way up top in this corner. Levine wants that spot, Rich.
Yeah, Levine's doing a great job defending on the outside. It makes it super difficult for the guy behind to get anything going because, in order to pass on the bottom, you obviously got to cut your center better. And you can be better than the guy in front of you, but once you get close to that bumper, it takes all that air away from your nose. And Levine's doing an awesome job here making sure that Ping can't roll the center and get a higher arc before coming down for exit, so that way he can't get the run off the corner. It's making him a little bit loose, and definitely a hard battle right there.
On back, this is John Perkins. He's now passed Matthew Kleinschmidt. Perkins, one of the few drivers who's running up a number of spots so far tonight. He's +3 on the board, and now he'll begin to try to run down Brian Dees. But back to Ping here. This is Ping and Levine. Now, Levine, of course, you and I both know, one of the veterans of iRacing, has been involved in the Road to Pro Series. He's been involved in One Sim, the team he runs, has been involved in multiple aspects of iRacing. So, hey, the perk is he's well respected. The downside of being well known is that not many people don't know how you race. That's a double negative. So let me try it again. A lot of people know your style, right? They know your secrets. They know what you're good at. They've seen you in a broadcast. They've seen you everywhere. So there's pros and cons to being well known, right?
Yeah, there's definitely pros and cons. One thing that's interesting, both of these drivers seem to be getting loose almost every time they come out of these corners here. So Levine's probably feeling a lot of pressure right now from Ping, and it's probably definitely getting to him a little bit. And we'll just have to see how he does protecting that right rear tire, getting defense. As you see, Ping's making a hard move onto the inside here, in the center of the corner. They're side by side off the corner. Ping's going to get clear back in line with Levine, sending it down onto the inside again. Trying to slide job in the center, most likely not going to be able to do it.
So he's doing a great job at keeping the pressure on Levine. But look at that in the back of the picture. Rick Thompson has entered the chat. He has decided he wants his shot at getting here. And Rich, every time these guys are side by side, their times are probably slowing down just a little bit. Last time by, they were both in the 22.7s. That's about 0.3 off the leader. So not only are they falling back to the leader, but they're now kind of welcoming the rest of the field into this battle.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the longer you're side by side, the more your tires are going to get chewed up here. He's going to try to clear him right here in the center.
No.
Not clear yet. Very tight. Ping's definitely starting to get a little aggressive here, trying to get that move done before he cooks his stuff too much. And then all these guys behind him come in for the sweep to pass both of them.
Let's move up here a second. There's the move up, and that's now the pass by Dustin Ping. So that's a great battle. This is the one for 5th and 6th. Look at the bottom of your screen. That's the battle for the lead. That's Mark Arthur. He's up there, and that's a different paint scheme. We'll get that fixed, but that's Mark Arthur up there. That's Hunter Lagoon's up there. And this is the battle for the lead. So we got multiple battles going on at once, and almost a similar thing we just saw with Ping. Rich, look at him. He's trying to get down there. He's trying to attack the bottom, trying to make the pressure known, but having a very difficult time.
Yeah, I was keeping an eye on the 27 throughout this run, and I was very impressed with how patient he was being behind the 12 of Mark Arthur. He was, just staying a little bit to the inside of Mark Arthur every lap, trying to get some cleaner on that nose, and he's definitely in the tire tracks now as they're almost making contact in the center of 1 and 2.
They almost are making contact. Look, when I said Rick Thompson's entering the chat. There he goes again. Oh, man, he got loose. I think he just barely may have tagged the inside of Levine and saved it. That's the good news for him. The bad news is look at the cars that went on by. He went from battling Levine to now a few spots back to P12 did Rick Thompson. So talk to me a little bit about the driver mentality, right? You make that move, you get the contact, you have to save the car. So now the next step becomes kind of calming yourself, right?
Yeah, you got to keep yourself calm and definitely calm yourself down pretty quickly, as these leaders are almost about side by side here. A heck of a battle for the lead right now, as you see the replay on the screen. And yeah, Thompson just gets loose and he makes contact with Levine, and he did a great job saving the car there.
So here is that lead you talked about. This is Mark Arthur in front. This is Hunter Lagoons in the back of the line. Every time by, Mark Arthur has led all of the laps. He begins lap 42. This is probably the closest the battle has been all night long. As Lagoon now tried to look outside, Mark Arthur left that gap up there, and Lagoon tried his best. But the difference I see from what you commented on back when that battle with Levine and Ping and the others earlier, these guys don't seem to be getting as loose off the corners as maybe we saw deeper in the field.
Yeah, I think that just shows that they did a way better job protecting their right side tires here. And, honestly, this is a game of chess between the 12 and the 27 here. The 27 seems to have a little bit more pace. We're coming in to finish stage 1 here, so he's going to be trying to get around the 12 of Mark Arthur to win the stage. But Mark's doing a great job playing defense, just like we've seen from Levine earlier in the race. And it's definitely going to be a good battle to the stage end here.
A good battle, and I suspect only a couple shots left does Lagoon have here as he wants to see make this pass in this battle, for the lead. Mark Arthur has led every lap. Mark Arthur has the fastest lap of them. That's why that stopwatch is next to his name on your scoring tower. We now begin lap 45. Only a few laps to go. Remember, the stage ends at the end of lap 50. So for Arthur right now, it's just about being consistent. It's about holding still. It's about not letting Lagoon by. In this moment right now for Lagoon, is this sort of a science experiment? What I mean by that is this sort of his shot to kind of learn how to deal with the end of the race, or what can Lagoon take away from this battle no matter how it ends?
He's probably just seeing how hard it is to pass once the tires do get old, and then especially when you close up into that dirty air. So it wouldn't surprise me if on the restart, if the 27 is on the outside of the 12 on the front row, if he tries to be a little bit more aggressive early off to try to use up the new tires. But obviously, as we get later on in the race, stage 3 is super long. So he's probably going to be one to watch out for on the long run all night long here.
He's doing a great job. On back through the field, you see different battles happening, but this is the one that's probably the closest. Back to Levine for a moment. This is Levine, and there is that 69 car up ahead of him. And see if he can get around there. He does safely. The 69, I believe, be a lap car. Cody Gibson way up the track, under attack from Brian Dees, as they're both trying to catch down Taylor Butcher Benjamin, and all seems good here. Now beginning lap 48. So 3 laps to go. And right now, this is the battle for Pete, 7, 8, and 9. So now Gibson back in 10th, pardon me. So this is right now the battle for that spot. Brian Dees is 1 spot out. So we talk a lot about stage points. Rich, what do they mean? How valuable are they? Right now, would you risk a big move to get that stage point if you're Brian Dees, or do you just kind of want to wait and see if you can make something happen later in the race?
He's probably going to try to go for it here, but the smarter move will probably be just to settle in where you're at and see what you can get dialed up for stage 2 later on.
Here we go, coming around. The leaders will take the proverbial white flag of the stage. Mark Arthur, when he comes down through turns 3 this time, 3 and 4, and he'll take the white flag as we begin. Actually, this is lap 50, so we'll get here, and this in a moment should be, there it is, your caution flag. So Rich, a great first stage. In fact, no cautions up until the end of the stage. A really lot of skilled racing here from these drivers.
Yeah, definitely a good first stage for everybody. Everyone did great. A couple incidents, but everyone had great saves, and I think that's going to lead to a pretty chaotic stage 2 beginning, honestly. Like, you've seen a lot of these guys who are all close to each other, trying to pass each other, couldn't get it done on those old tires. So, I wouldn't be surprised if when we start stage 2, we see the wick turned up a little bit and people being more aggressive overall.
And that'd be exciting to see if that does happen. So obviously, this is the predictable part right here. We're all behind the pace car. Everyone's going to pit. Everyone, I'm sure, is taking 4 tires and gas. A total of 5 sets available to the drivers in this race. So right now, mathematically, that's not a problem. We just went a whole stage, and this is our first pit stop. So here's going to be the look down pit road. You see the pit stop times on the right side of your screen. Looking for about 14 seconds-ish per pit stop. That's a good number for these drivers. Anything less than that is great. Anything over that means they had a problem. Let's watch it here. Everyone's in the box. Don't see anyone really backing it up. Here's Mark Arthur. Right side's up. Right side's down. Left side's up. There we go. And left side's down and away. There's someone coming down pit road trying to win the race. That's Brian Dees. That's an incredible pit stop. That's got to be 2 tires, Rich.
Yeah, it most likely is 2 tires. Actually, I'm not seeing the jack go up on that car, so he might have just gotten fuel only there.
Oh, what is that going to mean for him right now? So, I mean, when you're one of the only cars, if not the only car, who did gas only, obviously you're trying to save tires for later, but in this moment, it's probably a very difficult run here in the first few laps, right?
Yeah, he's probably trying to get lucky here. He's probably thinking what I was saying earlier before the pit stops there, that the stage 2 start here might get a little chaotic with how hard it was to pass. So he might be banking on a couple cautions here, trying to burn some laps in stage 2 and try to just have a net gain of where he was at, and then see what happens at the end of the stage. But yeah, I would just bet that he's probably just thinking that this can be a couple cautions here.
Yeah, otherwise he's probably going to fall back through the field fairly quickly here. But we're going to come around and take the 1 to green this time by the lights in the pace car will turn off there. You see the lights there blinking at the top of the car. That'll turn off in just a moment, giving the drivers the indication that we're going to go green next time by. I had 1 end-of-line penalty. That will be served by the driver of the 60 car. He'll fall to the back. But let's reset your top 10 quickly. It's Arthur, Dees, Lagoons, Zimmerman, Edstrom, Ping, Levine, Marr, Kilrow, and TBBs. How we'll line up after the pit stop. So right now, Rich, to me, if you're Lagoon, you're probably thrilled you're not starting on the outside, right?
Yeah, one thing we're gonna have to keep an eye on here is tire spin, especially with the 17. These cars are hard to get going as they are on new tires. So he just had a 50 lap green flag run on those, so they're probably going to be a little bit sketchy here as we fire off.
Well, let's find out what happens. We're coming out of turn 4. The pace car's down on pit road. The green flag is out. Look at that big, massive jump by the 12 of Mark Arthur. Not really any tire spin, Rich, but it looked like maybe Brian Deans was a little, let's say he finessed that pedal. He didn't want to slam on it too hard.
Yeah, definitely want to make sure he didn't cause a wreck there. He did a great job on those old tires, but now he's getting a lot of pressure behind him, obviously. Trying to get around that guy on the old tires. We got the 28 going through Brian Zimmerman. Now Dustin Ping is going to set his eyes up front as we're 3 wide right now.
Oh, my God. There's something you don't say every day at IRP. We're 3 wide. Maybe not the case if not for D's on the old tires. There's Kilrow going by and many more moving around. So right now the 17 feels like a sitting duck. He's got Tanner Moore and a 4 on the inside. He's got TBB coming now to the inside. And at least for the moment, as they're going to be 3 wide, very darn close again. At least for the moment, Rich, that plan from the 17 of hoping a couple quick cautions formed, not so much the case.
Yeah, it's definitely not going to work out in his favor. And now the 17 of Brian Dees, he's just hoping that, he can just, work his way back to the back of the pack here without getting into any accidents. And, we say that we hear that saying all the time of you made your bed, and he made his bed, and unfortunately it's not going to pay off for him, but he's probably going to try to have a strong run in stage 3 at the end of the stage here.
Yeah, he's hoping maybe that extra set of tires means something later. And maybe it will. Right now, a first clean stage does not always equate to other stages being clean. So we'll see if that does happen. There's that Scooby-Doo mystery machine in the bottom. It's Kyle Wellman subbing in for Brad Lawson. And there is Harmon in the 29. We saw him have a little bit of a rough run in one of those corners in the first stage. And then he fell back pretty far. See if he has a better second stage on the night. Once again, thanks for hanging out here live on Green Flag TV. If you're part of the YouTube chat, thanks so much for hanging out and supporting your favorite drivers. But here we are working lap 61 of 250. So in a way, Rich, these numbers are a little confusing to me because as a driver, you'd like to set numbers and milestones in your head, right? So when the caution comes out on lap 50, you're like 1/5 of the way through the race. Does that feel defeating when you think of it that way? How do you sort of manage numbers in your head to kind of keep optimistic?
I think it would feel a little bit defeating if we had a caution in that first stage, but because we had a long green flag run, I think honestly a lot of those drivers were happy that the first stage was only 50 laps, so that way they can bolt on a new set of tires on their car and just kind of reset and take what they learned from the first stage on how their tires wore out and what they need to do different to try to have more pace at the end of the run. So definitely going to see some different tendencies here on the second stage with some people trying to take it a little bit more easier, protecting those tires. And then obviously, as we've seen when the green flag came out, you had a lot of guys aggressive trying to make moves, making it 3 wide at times and trying to get track position early here so they can play defense most of the time.
A lot of defense being played with that top lane currently. Still your top 3, Arthur, Lagoon, Zimmerman. That's been your top 3. At least that's the way they gridded up tonight for the race. So they've not moved at all. Dustin Ping's up in P4 and Levine's up in P5. They're both up 1 spot. So you see that happening. There's a battle again. Lagoon now tries to dig way to the inside of Mark Arthur, almost down to the below the racing line, if you will, down almost to the flatter part of that banking. What's he trying to achieve down there? Is that to maybe kind of make the car looser or tighter or just find more surface, or what's he digging for?
He's probably just trying something, trying to see what lane's going to work where and at what time of the point in the run. And obviously, the top 10 are pretty much all bumper to bumper as he's making a move to the inside for the lead. Not going to get it down the backstretch as you're looking at the 59 on your screen. But probably just trying to be a little bit desperate, trying to get the lead and try to run away from the guys behind that, or trying to put more pressure on the 2 leaders.
And the difference this time with the leaders is that bit of traffic behind him. Last time I felt like Arthur and Lagoon had a bit of a gap. Lagoon now to the outside. He's now going to try and beat Arthur through the corner and off the corner by using that top lane. Arthur a little wiggle, and he now will give up the lead. Zimmerman now moves up. Zimmerman 1 second. Zimmerman makes contact a little bit. And nope, they're going to drag race the line. But new leader for the first time is Hunter Lagoons.
Yeah, what a power move from the 27 there, getting his nose on the outside in the center of the corner. That's really hard to do, and definitely shows the speed that he has in that race car. And Now that he's got the clean air, he's just going to go into cruise mode and try to take care of his stuff like he did in stage 1 and try to pull away towards the end. As you see, the 28 of Brian Zimmerman's now in second place, and he's going to probably try to run down Hunter and try to battle him for the lead. And if that ends up happening, then you'll see the 81 of Dustin Ping and P3 close right up into that battle.
And look at Mark Arthur just falling back, cannot get in line. When I try to explain to someone, to Rich, who doesn't understand racing, what this feels like for Arthur, I would say it's like opening a door at a restaurant. You open it for one person, and next thing you know, people just kind of keep walking in and walk in. You just feel like you can never let go of that door. You can never get inside the restaurant yourself. For Mark Arthur, that's gotta feel what that feels like. Is, boy, what it felt like right there was the back into Austin Edstrom's car, because he wiggled Edstrom pretty hard.
Yeah, he's definitely trying hard to keep what he can get here, and unfortunately, he's probably just going to have to be patient and try to race as hard as he can as he gets a little bit loose out of turn 4 there. That's going to hurt his tires. He should get clear in line right here and stop the bleeding a little bit, and hopefully he can get that run off the corner here so that way he doesn't have any pressure going into 3 as it looks like he does.
Tucked in between Dalton Kilroe and Rick Thompson. That puts him back to P7. The driver who started up front about 10, 15 laps ago finds himself back in P7, and we'll see if he can work his way back up front. So now for Mark Arthur, what's different? What is it? Just the view, right? Is it just the view that's different from the cars in front of him? Is that car going to behave different in traffic? What's different for Mark Arthur right now?
Well, obviously, mentally, when you're in the lead and you look out your windshield and all you see is clean racetrack, regardless if there's lap cars in front of you or not, it's a very calming mindset to be in, because you're in control of the race and you have control of a lot of stuff. And now that he's back in the pack, he's got a lot of dirty air on his car, so it'll be interesting to see how he can take care of his tires and what his long run pace will look like at the end.
This is the battle on back to the field. This is Cody Gibson in the 7. This is back for 14th and 15th place. That's Derbyshire behind him. That's Trevor Harmon. Oh my gosh. On back is Derbyshire just trying to move the wall.
Yeah, big contact with the wall off of turn 4 there. That's definitely going to hurt that right front tire, as now you see he's under pressure by the 29, and the 29 looks to be clear of Derbyshire.
Wow. Derbyshire's like car just lifted off almost like maybe on either 2 or maybe 3 tires, but I think 2, that side that lifted up there. But there's a beautiful look to the side of Brian Zimmerman's car. He is trying to run down. Hunter looking and watching here from the drone, see how the drone sees it around the track. You kind of get a cool look at the infield, all the parties and everything that's happening. See a little bit of the pits setups you have there. And now down the front straight here on IRP. Remember, these are 22 and a half second lap times here, Rich. So as long as we stay green, this goes by really fast.
Yeah, it definitely goes by fast. And one of the cool things that the viewers at home can look at from this shot is you see the 28 of Brian Zimmerman trying different lines on entry there. He's trying to keep that right front fender in clean air on entry to center, so that way it doesn't slide to right front too much. And then you see him trying to diamond off the corner to get that run down where he puts all that air on the left front. So that way he doesn't get too loose off the corner. A little bit loose on entry right there, trying to take care of his stuff maybe a little bit, but also be aggressive at the same time to put pressure onto the 27.
Great job here. By the way, it looks like we have our first retirement of this race tonight. Jess Hadley has went ahead and called it a night, so that car will finish last. That is 24th. And I believe Mike Massengill has also called it a night as well. So 23rd and 24th have been settled, as we're now trying to settle the battle for the lead here at Lucas Oil IRP. So you mentioned things the drivers or the fans can see at home that were cool. Well, you know what they can see at home that's not cool is the track temp, Rich. We talked about it earlier. It was 86 degrees Fahrenheit. It's actually gone up 5 degrees on the track since the start of the night. So you said earlier, we're heading into the nighttime. It's currently about 7:49, maybe 7:50 virtual sim time. Are you surprised the track temp is going up?
I'm not that surprised at this point in the race that it went up a little bit. Obviously, when we have restarts, you got a bunch of cars packed up together, putting heat in the track at the same time, whereas on the longer green flag runs, once everybody gets strung out, the track's not taking as much heat at, as quick of a time, so it can kind of settle in a little bit. We should see the track temp drop a little bit once we get into stage 3 later on tonight, but, the track's still changing. It's gaining track temp, but it's also putting a lot of rubber down on the track, which is just making it even tighter for these race car drivers.
Yeah, and that's something that came out, about maybe 2.5 years ago in iRacing, was this new dynamic track modeling they're working on little by little, where the drivers can now rubber in a line. It used to be that whatever the line was when the race started, that was your line. But now if you and a few friends on the racetrack want to get persistent, you in theory could rubber yourself in a new line to make more grip in this racetrack. So we'll see if anyone takes advantage of that. Here's Mark Arthur digging to the inside of Dalton Kilrow, and there's the two Taco Bell cars up ahead again. It's still Levine and Derbyshire in those cars, but here's on board with Mark Arthur in P7. And that wheel, look at the hands. You can kind of see on the left side of that shot there. When you watch Arthur's hands in this car, what does that tell you about the kind of night he's having?
As he gets clear there, great move from him right there, tight clear. And now he'll set his eyes forward to try to make up where he lost earlier in the start of the stage. But it kind of just tells me that even though he looked like to be super aggressive there, it tells me he's being pretty calm, just trying to let the car do the work. So he should have speed as the race goes on here. And one real quick to touch back on the dynamic track, one of the things that we can see different in stage 2 here compared to stage 1 is at middle point to the end of stage 1, everyone was still staying towards the wall on the exit of the corners, but now pretty much everybody's trying to wrap that apron on the exit here, trying to get some fresh track that doesn't have rubber, so that way that right front tire doesn't chatter as much.
And you see lines are moving down a little bit. This is the battle on track. This is Cody Gibson in the 7. It's the middle of your screen right there. He's got a couple of cars on each side. He's got Kyle Wellman up front, subbing for Brad Lawson. He's got Matthew Kleinschmidt on back. So kind of watching these gaps to see if anything big changes. Kleinschmidt's definitely the closer of the two. But now let's move back up through the field. This is that battle again. This is Kilrow on back, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th on back. It is Kilrow, Thompson, Tanner Marr, TBB, and others. So you talked earlier about the track temp has gone up a little bit. Well, maybe it'll come back down later. So right now, Mark Arthur has your fastest lap of the night. Until the track temp drops, at least, that has to be pretty safe for Mark Arthur to take home that record, right?
Yeah, it should be, but at the same time, there might be, some of those faster guys, even though as we get on through the night and the track temp cools down, the track should be faster, as you see a tight side-by-side battle right there. We're going to have a longer stage in stage 3, so, some guys might try to fire off a little bit more conservatively, and that might not equate to faster lap times.
We'll wait and see if that does happen. Right now, 16, 17, 18. Larry Bell, William Derbyshire contact. That's our first yellow for cause of the night as Larry Bell is turned around on the front straight.
Yeah, super tough break for him there. Definitely some hard racing. We'll have to see what happened in the replay to really diagnose it, but definitely just looked like some hard racing.
Wow. Well, let me tell you, what's interesting to me about this, and let's watch the replay first and see what happens. And there's Bruton on the bottom, Bell up top, and it looks like Bruton's just going to come up and get to the back end of the very Bell and turn him on halfway around to the 180 there on the track. Well, what's interesting to me right now, Rich, is where we are in this stage. We're working lap 90, so we're we're about 10 to go in this stage, pardon me. If you're looking for stage points, do you stay out here and hope it just goes quick and easy? Does you think everybody pits here? What do you think the goal is?
I think if you're towards the back of the field, that you're going to try to pit here and flip the stage. But we got a couple people that came down pit road here. We got the 10 of Taylor Butcher Benjamin, Austin Derbyshire. I'm pretty excited to see what Taylor Butcher Benjamin can do here. He just has to take care of his tires, until the stage caution, and then he'll get some good track position to start stage 3.
So right now it looks like Austin Edstrom is in P14. He's the first one who pitted. So 14th on back will have new equipment. They'll have some new tires, maybe some gas or whatever they selected on that pit stop to work with. So if you did take new tires here on lap 91, do you think that's enough of an advantage to make up the difference here? What's probably going to be like 8 to go on the restart?
For sure. I mean, some of those guys, they're starting in, Austin Edstrom, he's starting in 13th. Taylor Butcher Benjamin starting in 15th. So we're still going to have a little bit of time here to run some green flag laps. So you could see them crack the top 10 and still get stage points.
Well, this will be exciting to watch. So right now up front, it's Lagoon, Zimmerman, Levine, Mark Arthur, Dalton, Kilroy, your top 5. Thompson, Marr, Perkins, Kleinschmidt, and Harmon, your top 10. Remember, the stage ends at the end of lap 100. So we're getting there quickly. And after the end of stage 2, it's all the way to the green. 200, I guess an extra 150 for 250 total is where we'll be for tonight's race. Everyone kind of trying to get double filed. Everyone kind of get organized, get lined up here. But what has stood out to you so far? Actually, we're going to go green this time. We'll come back to that in the stage and talk about what stood out so far. But right now, this is it. This is going to be Lagoon. This is his first time leading on the restart. So let's see how he does here.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a crazy restart for sure. Brian Zimmerman's probably going to be aggressive, same as the 5 of Justin Levine and the 12 of Mark Arthur there in P4, trying to rebound from his troubles in the start of the second stage.
Let's see how it goes. Lagoon comes around, and as soon as he touches that restart zone with the blue paint on the inside, he can go, and he does. Leads Zimmerman, leads Levine and others down into turn number 1.
Yeah, he got a really good restart there. He's going to be able to tuck up in front of the 28 as they're side by side for P2, and Ping has issues there on the bottom of the racetrack.
Oh, there's a wreck in the back.
Down the backstretch.
That was Derbyshire, I do believe. I thought I saw the Taco Bell machine. No, it's not Derbyshire. That's Derbyshire on the track. That's Rick Thompson, pardon me. No caution under the racing surface. He needs to get up here and get moving faster. It's going to be a caution. He has towed the car. No caution. We're going to say green here with a few laps to go.
Yeah, up front, the 27's trying to set sail here from the 28 of Brian Zimmerman. As you see, Levine trying to put pressure. Here's a replay on your screen.
Oh, my gosh.
Just gets tagged in the right rear, and in the left rear, and nothing he can do there.
Tanner Marr just came up the track and got the back end, and boy, oh boy. But look up front. This is a pass for lead. Brian Zimmerman is trying to make the pass for lead. That's a pass for second and third. Levine's digging to the inside. He wants to get around Zimmerman, and meanwhile, Lagoon is walking away with stage 2.
Yeah, Levine's probably going to have to try to get closer into turn 1 here and probably try to do a slide job as he gets loose off of turn 4. That's going to hinder his momentum. He'll just have to try to sit in line here, try to gain some more momentum to another run before the end of the stage, and he'll probably have to do a dive bomb to get around the 28.
Well, they got it back single file, by the way. This is that wreck one more time. This is Marr and Thompson. Marr's the inside, the blue car. He's going to come up, tag Thompson, and send Thompson around. Thompson has parked it and called it a night, by the way, as Levine almost got to the back end of Brian Zimmerman.
Yeah, Levine putting a lot of pressure on the 28 there, trying to pressure him into a mistake. Don't know if he's going to get that mistake from him, but it's definitely going to be a tight battle for P2 here at the end of the stage, as we only got a couple of laps left.
Only a couple of laps up, see what passes can be made here. There's a 64, that's Derbyshire. He's over the back end of his teammate in Kleinschmidt. Then you got Tanner Marr behind him. You got Brian Dees behind them. So this is the battle on back for about P11 on back. Up front, though, this is that battle for P2. Levine, remember, your points leader coming into tonight, wants to get every point possible. He is trying to make something happen, trying to dig to the inside. Working lap 99, 100 this time by. 1 lap to go in stage number 2.
Yeah, and here comes the 12 of Mark Arthur, putting Levine under pressure here. He's going to try to go for a P3 before the end of the stage. He has a great run off of turn 2.
Making that run. Remember, Arthur led all the first stage, led a part of the second stage, fell back when he got a pass made by Lagoon, bumps Levine out of the corner, side by side to the backs, or down to the front straight, pardon me. It's going to be Levine, and caution is out to end the stage.
Yeah, and one thing to note, the 87 Austin Edstrom, the 10 of Taylor Butcher Benjamin, 2 guys that came off pit road there up front from the guys that pitted at that caution before the end of the second stage. You know, they came back to finish 7th and 8th there. They still got some stage points. So we'll see what they did to damage-wise on their tires, if they can hang on at the beginning of stage 3.
Yeah, be very curious to see what happens. We'll come around here and catch the pace car, and then the pit road will happen this time by. Well, before we get into the pit stop, let's go ahead and thank tonight's sponsor, and the sponsor for the series of the Blazing Pedals ARCA Series. The Ohio, Indiana, and Roofing Company is our sponsor. The Ohio and Indiana Roofing is a premier roofing contractor. We are a sister company to the Bruns Construction Enterprise, and they specialize in commercial and industrial roofing, and they are committed to accommodating the unique needs of each client and offering creative solutions to meet those needs. They are a team of individuals who work for the same common goals: professionalism, quality, and service. The services they offer include preventative maintenance, re-roofing, new construction, infrared scanners, green roof solutions, metal, retrofit, emergency repair services, and more. Please visit www.oiroofing.com for more information. Thanks so once again to the Ohio and Indiana Roofing Company for sponsoring the season of Blazing Pedals. Well, we saw a couple pit stops there. We saw Joey Neese come down. We saw William Bruton come down. But again, the story here, Austin Edstrom and the others have moved to the front, Rich.
Yeah, pretty much what I thought they were going to try to do, get tires at the end of stage 2 before that caution came out to officially end the stage and try to leapfrog the field to get some clean air. It puts them in a little bit of a better spot here. Obviously, the higher up front you are, the more air, the better the air is going to be, and obviously you got control as the leader, so we'll see what they can do with this clean air and older tires.
Well, let's try and get a quick word with the driver who is going to lead them up to the front of the field. Welcome into the Green Flag TV booth. Follow Green Flag TV commentator and one sim motorsport driver Austin Edstrom. Austin, how do you feel about the move you made by flipping the stage there?
I feel like track position is super important. The guys up front, it's just so hard to pass at this place. 8 green flag lap tire disadvantage is going to kind of suck though, so it's going to be easy for these guys to pass us versus what it's typically been. But I just figured I got to give myself the track position because there's no way I was passing guys like Hunter and Mark unless they just gave me the outside line.
All right, well, listen, I'm going to put you back down to your rims. I know you're 1 to go. Good luck the rest of the race, and maybe we'll talk later.
Appreciate you, man. Hope so.
I hope so. That is Austin Edstrom, driver for One Sim Motorsports. And here we are. We're back, ready to go. Green Flag Racing. So 1, 2, 3, 4 cars. So it's Edstrom, Butcher Benjamin, Dees, and Wellman did not pit this time by. They pitted 10 laps ago. Everyone else behind them's on fresher tires. Here we are once again. Barney the Flagman has the flag in his hand. Green Flag Racing. We are go, go, go here at IRP.
Yeah, great start for the 87 Austin Edstrom there. He's going to try to pull away as we're side-by-side for P2. Other side-by-side battles throughout the pack, as you see. Everyone's going to try to be a little bit more aggressive here, trying to assert their position to ride out the stage.
See who gets in. There are no more stages. We're just going to ride out the rest of the way. 150 laps is what we're going. It means we'll need pit stops at some point, whether they're green flag or yellow flag or what have you. But we were 3 wide again. That's Ping, Arthur, Levine, and others. Cars are spinning. I think it was Dalton Kilrun to 41 back there. Saw Burton get through, pardon me. But caution's out pretty quickly in stage 3.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. That's one of the things that happens when you don't flip the strategy and you get put back in the pack a little bit, and things happen quick back there. We'll have to take a look at the replay to see what happened, but definitely unfortunate for a lot of those drivers.
Well, speaking of flipping the stage, the drivers with the biggest smiles have to be the ones who did, right? So Edstrom, Butcher Benjamin, Wellman, who stayed up there, and Dees, I believe, who got up there and led, will be thrilled because they were out of the calamity that just happened. Watching the 3 wide right here, but it's up top, I believe. 28, I think, who gets loose first, and Zimmerman, and then he sort of caused a little bit of chaos, I do believe.
Yeah, and then obviously it causes a track blocker. It's so tough to get slowed down right after a restart, especially on a short track. Everyone's trying to get what they can get, and unfortunately a lot of good cars got tore up there, so we'll have to see what happens if they can get back out there and make a charge to the front. But going back to those guys that stayed out on pit road as we take another onboard look here. Just almost no time to react. He did a great job avoiding that right there.
That's Perkins, I believe, at the 33.
Yeah, but going back to the guys that stayed out, this heat cycle is just going to help them on those older tires, as those guys on new tires, the more heat cycles you get, the worse those tires are going to feel, and the more equal they're all going to be. So definitely a good thing for the guys that stayed out.
I see it on board from Mark Arthur. You saw it there. Levine just got a little loose out of the corner, and there was nothing they could do. They kind of bumped into him, kind of hoping maybe it would right the ship, but it did not. And then lots of contact here. Arthur spins it around a little bit out of frustration, and away we go here back into the caution. Well, Lytron pace car is still on. I'm going to go one more time around. Brian Zimmerman, no surprise, being named the cause of the caution. He'll receive an EOL and go to the back of the field. So, Rich, obviously, you're the admin of PSR. you and I have talked about this a bit privately. But as a driver, though, what are your thoughts about this type of penalty system where an EOL for a driver of caution? Do you think it helps calm the driver down? Do you think it makes them angry and drive harder? What's the pros and cons of that system?
I mean, it can go either way depending on how the driver is. Some people are going to look at it as a negative, but I mean, personally, I'd look at it as, just taking ownership that you made the mistake. And, obviously it is frustrating to get penalized if you make a mistake, but at the end of the day, we're all here to have fun and race hard. So it's kind of fair when we don't have the side of the financial aspect like they do in real life.
Absolutely. Well, here we go. This time by, again, Austin Derbyshire TBB, the same two cars from before. Up front, Wellman and Dees. I tried to combine those names. Are in the second row. But here we go. Once again, that restart zone at the bottom. The Geico restart zone is hit. And he goes away, does Austin Edstrom.
Yeah, Austin gets another great start there. A little bit of side-by-side throughout the field. More single file than the last restart, as we still got a battle for P4 right now.
Beautiful battle for P4. In fact, side by side, there's TBB being attacked by Hunter Lagoon, I believe, to be on the bottom. Lagoon wants to get back up front. Remember, he pitted at the end of the stage, so he has about 10 lap newer tires, but that number's a little deceiving, right? Because they didn't really go 10 laps green between the caution and the stage, so probably not much difference in the tires, I would think.
Yeah, not too much difference in the tires, but again, they do have that heat cycle, so it's a little bit more equal. As you're looking at a battle for 8th place right now, they're all trying to get what they can get back there and settle themselves in to have a good run here.
New fastest lap, Austin Edstrom of 21.802. You and I talked about maybe as the night went on that Arthur's reign as fastest lap would be in trouble, and indeed it was.
Yeah, Austin's probably just trying to get as big of a lead as he can here, so that way if the guys that have the newer tires do catch up to him, hopefully their stuff's a little bit more used up, and then it's just harder for them to get around him at that point, as we're almost 3 wide right there.
Yes. And we saw the last 3 wide went, but not really the fault of the 3 wide, just sort of a 3 wide stack up that got caught there in that moment. Other thing to talk about, look at that, out of that corner right there. That was that little annoying glare called the sun. I'm curious what the driver sees in the cockpit. Do you think it's as bad in the car currently as it is on the top of that camera?
Probably, absolutely. Definitely a bad view going into turn 1 with the sun. It makes it very challenging to see your marks, but all these drivers are going to be dealing with it, so it's just something you got to get used to and just deal with it.
So is it fair to say that luckily for the drivers, the glare is out of the corner and not into the corner? Does that make it easier this way you've hit your braking marker already?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely better that it's not in the braking zone. It's still a little tricky because it is in the throttle up zone, but like I said, all these drivers are having to deal with it, so we'll see if that's a factor, but you just got to deal with it and just wait till that goes down to where it's not in your view.
Well, right now it's Levine, Gibson, and Perkins in that order. You see on the side of your screen how long it's been since everyone pitted, so you see some different numbers there of how long their stint is and when they pitted last time, but looking at this battle, 6th on back here on your screen.
Yeah, side by side right there. A little bit of contact up front with the wall. 59 right there. Getting that good run off the corner, trying to just set sail from the guys behind him and look forward. But he's got a lot of pressure from the 81 right there, trying to make the move on the inside.
And you see Kilrose on back behind. There's Tanner Marr. Larry Bell, good to see him back around after he got spun around earlier and is doing all right on the track. Kleinschmidt's up ahead. He's now being passed by Ping, but look at Kleinschmidt powering around on the outside.
Yeah, the 81's trying to do a slide job here. He's going to see if he can get it in 3 and 4. Did not slide up in time. Pretty tight battle right there, but he's going to probably clear him off of turn 4 here and just set sail.
So short track racing, a skill that I think not every iRacer possesses. Of course, you do it both in iRacing. You've done it in real life as well. What do you think is 1 or 2 skills that maybe most iRacers don't know or don't practice enough about short track racing?
Well, one of them is definitely being comfortable right behind somebody. You see oftentimes at short tracks that we go to, people are always running into the back of each other just because they're not really predicting the braking zone of the guy in front of them might be different than theirs. So that's definitely a skill that you can learn on on iRacing, and definitely a skill that I learned in real life. So that helps me when we do short tracks on iRacing for sure. And then, the other thing is just trying to keep a calm head throughout the entire race, because a lot of things can happen on a short track, obviously. It's super intense as you're looking at a battle right there in front of you, side by side, coming out of the corner, going to get back in line single file. As we're having another dive bomb from Dustin Ping. Not going to be able to get into a hole. He's going to race him hard side by side off the corner here and hope he doesn't get that guy behind him on his outside.
Ping so far is doing a good job. He's there trying to get to the inside of Perkins, trying to make it happen. You used the term slide job earlier. I don't think he's going to accomplish that. He's going to get almost door to door with Perkins, though. He's ahead of Kill Road this time by. There's the opportunity. Now, I sort of say what's the danger of a slide job, but I think Ping sort of answered it for us, right?
Yeah, there's a couple dangers. Obviously, you can make contact when you slide up in front of somebody, but also every time you do that slide job, it absolutely shreds that right front tire. So realistically, you want to only be able to do it one time and get the job done. So the more times he's not successful making that move, the more he's just hurting his tires.
Now we're starting to see a little bit more contact. Time goes on. That was not a little bit of contact. That was a lot of contact. That was the 12 of Mark Arthur. And then Burton there in the white and purple machine. Ooh, but I almost want to think that had Burton not had the wall to the outside, he might have spun that car around. Yeah,
he most likely would have spun out there. Big contact in the left rear. Luckily, he got hit in the left front and strained him back out. But
I say it wasn't much the wall. Yeah, it was almost Mark Arthur just sort of putting him back around. Said, "Hey, sorry about that," and just kind of straightened him back out. So here's TBB now. He's trying to run down Kyle Wellman. So again, I want to remind you, these drivers, well, 4 of the 5 up front, Edstrom, Wellman, TBB, and Dees. Remember, they flipped the stage. They did not pit under either of the last 2 cautions. They pitted back on lap 91. Hunter Lagoon is trying to run down Edstrom. He did pit under the caution on 101. So I think it's fair to say that 10-lap difference is not really that big a difference on the tire side.
Yeah, I mean, you also got to remember it depends on how hard the 27's pushing here. Most likely he's just being patient, taking care of his stuff, logging laps. I think the 97 of Austin Edstrom right now, he's probably trying to push a little bit to keep that clean air. He's been consistently running faster lap times than the 27, but it wouldn't surprise me here if in about like 5 or 10 laps that battle gets tighter up front.
Well, look at the battle right now. This is the gap between first and fourth. 2.7 seconds is the difference between the drivers who are trying to flip a stage, and that is Edstrom to TBB. Now let's take a look at the gap between Edstrom and Lagoons. This is 1 second. What I note there, look at that, is last time by, the numbers are in Edstrom's favor. Last time by, Edstrom's a little faster. So I keep pointing out because typically in most tracks, the car with the new tires should have the green numbers.
Yeah, in theory they should, but also you got to remember how important clean air is. Like I said earlier, that's the whole point of flipping the stage for Austin Edstrom by pitting before the end of stage 2. And, this is exactly what he wanted to see. He was a little bit concerned with his older tires, but I don't think that's playing a factor right now. As long as he just keeps his tires underneath him, he'll have a good run here at the end.
So talk about clean air for a second, because I think the average person would think that with the gap that exists of about 1 second between those 2 cars up front, we're now watching the battle with Levine and Dees. Levine's going to try to power the inside. Dees up almost in the wall on the outside. They're going to come out of the corner side by side, and caution's out. Hold on, we'll come back to our topic in a second, because it's Cody Gibson in a 7, and he is parked sideways in the grass.
Yeah, tough break for the 7 there. We'll have to take a look at what happened. I think it was just hard racing again, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, maybe Dustin Ping involved. We'll wait and see when the replay shows and who it shows. Yep, here's Dustin Ping, and back in the back bumper. And Cody Gibson goes all around.
Yeah, there's a little aggressive move right there. Unfortunate for the 7. Like we've seen earlier, nothing the 7 could do there. Just lock the brakes down and just make sure nobody hits you and try to regroup here after the caution. And it'll definitely be interesting to see what happens here as pit road's going to be opening soon and see who wants to come get new tires or not, as we got the leader on pit road.
Yeah, Austin Edstrom is down. I was curious as myself because this is now working lap 135. So I was curious to see, it's been 30 laps since anyone was on pit road, and more than that for some drivers. But here's Edstrom, TBB, Brian Dees, Tanner Marr, Larry Bell, and more down pit road. Again, I would suspect 4 tires and gas for everyone on pit road.
Yeah, the 85 of Kyle Wellman, he stayed out again, as well as Levine in the 59. So definitely a mixed bag of strategy here. Some people looks like to be maybe taking 2 tires to flip their position or fuel only, as we see the 87 coming out of pit road.
So put yourself in the driver's seat. Of course, a championship-winning driver, won multiple races in the PSR Sim Gaming Expo Truck Series this season. In a scenario like this, where it's been about 30 laps since anyone pitted, is there ever a world where you wouldn't take 4 tires?
I probably would have stayed out there just because, especially if I'm the leader, I have that control of the race. I have that clean air. I have older tires, but I know, people were going to stay out there most likely going into the pit stop. So I would have stayed out. And then obviously we've seen a couple of guys just take fuel only, and they came out ahead of some of the guys that took 4 tires. So that's just adding to the line of cars that those guys on 4 tires are going to need to pass to get back to the lead. So, and we already seen what happened when, you get stuck back in the dirty air and back in the mid pack, and it's just not a good place to be because there's a lot of unknowns and a lot of things you can't control back there.
Yeah, I think I'm just curious because we saw what happened as well to Brian Dees on the 2 tires. So I'm curious to see if anyone took that strategy and how it may play out, what effect it may have here. The lights are about to kick on here at IRP. It's now about 8:43 p.m. virtual sim time. This time moves at a double acceleration rate. The track temp is dropping, now down to 86 degrees Fahrenheit. So now, I think with new tires in the back of the field, Rich, this is likely going to be some of our fastest laps of the night.
Our fastest and most aggressive laps for sure for the guys that took tires. But one thing to know out front here, we got to keep our eye on 5 of Justin Levine. He's going to be hoping to get a really good restart here on the 85 and hopefully try to stay to his outside in the center of 1 and 2. And if he can do that, he's going to get a nasty run off turn 2 and down the backstretch, might be able to clear for the lead.
Well, the substitute driver of Kyle Wellman in for Brad Lawson. Wellman, not a newbie to the ARCA cars, races every Monday night in the High Tide Racing League. Gets a great jump at the green flag, a massive jump on Justin Levine, a massive jump on Kleinschmidt and the others, and we're off racing again.
Yeah, not the start that Levine wanted there, but he has that defensive line going through turns 1 and 2 being on the outside, so he'll be able to slot back into second, putting a lot of pressure as you see the leader making a mistake there. Levine's going to use that to his advantage and just keep putting more and more pressure on the leader and hope he makes another mistake and he can squeak on by.
Levine came into tonight your points leader over Dalton Kilrow, over TBB and others. And right now when you're in P2, it's easy to think you're going to walk away, hopefully, with more of a points lead. It's got to be what he's thinking about somewhere in the back of his head right now. But boy, look on back. Austin Edstrom's back there. That's Dalton Kilrow and others battling hard. So there's a difference of different strategies. There's Dalton Kilrow, by the way. He's on brand new tires. So we're kind of seeing how powerful those can be.
Yep, and we're side by side for the lead. Levine's being very aggressive here, trying to get that clean air. He's not thinking about the point situation right now or how his tires are going to be at the end of this run. This is now just going to make everybody behind them just close back up to the battle. It's really going to hurt Levine as he has to tuck back in line, looking on the inside again through the center of 1 and 2, but I don't think he's going to be able to get the job done just yet.
In a weird way, Rich, and I don't know if you agree with this or not, when I think about passing an IRP, I sort of think about passing in Michigan. And that sounds really weird at first because obviously a massive difference in track size. But what I mean by that is in Michigan as well, you have to make that pass in the bottom and then kind of quickly get back to the top of the track in some cases. And it feels like that's what we're doing here. Is now Edstrom's past his teammate of Justin Levine. He wants a shot at the lead. But I feel like to make the pass here, you have to be very decisive, get it done, and get back to the top lane if you can, right?
Yeah, you got to be super aggressive. Levine's probably going to wish that he could have done that move back and probably try to send it in the corner a little bit harder and get clear for the lead and pull away. Now he's stuck on the outside behind the leader, who he seems to be quicker than right now, and his teammates on the inside just going through the field right now.
Well, Levine backed out. Edstrom did not. Now Edstrom's battling with Wellman, and this has become a classic Indiana traffic jam. You see this any day, Monday through Friday during rush hour. That's what it feels like right here. Because it feels like as Edstrom is trying to run down Wellman, it feels like Levine's trying to get to his back bumper. This could get ugly really quickly.
Yeah, and the 27 right now, he's probably just sitting there watching in front of him as we got contact for the lead. 3 wide coming off of turn 4 here. Barely gets clear. Levine with contact sideways, holds on to it for second with the outside lane, preferred lane going into 1 and 2.
Well, Edstrom was the victor right there. Edstrom benefited from all that contact as he walked away with the lead. And right now it's going to be Lagoon, Levine, Wellman in that order behind our race leader. There's the glare again coming down through the corner. The sun is going down, so good news for those drivers. But that contact got really scary for a moment, Rich.
Yeah, and the 27 of Lagoon, he was just waiting for his opportunity. Not much you can do when the guys in front of you are side by side, as we got the replay of it right here. Super hard racing, clean racing, even though there's a little bit of contact, obviously right there, going 3 wide for the lead. You got to do what you got to do at sometimes when you got those older tires and the new tires are coming, and then you got some wall contact right there. But we're shaping up for another battle for the lead right here, as Lagoon has his inside lane making contact right there with the leader, Edstrom.
Boy, you talked earlier about how this would only be the quicker laps, the most aggressive laps of the night, and that's been the call so far. Lagoon made the pass, but may get the undercross here. Edstrom tried to repay the favor, could not quite get there.
Yeah, the thing with Edstrom now is he just needs to settle in, and he needs to understand that he's got the tire deficit here to a lot of people, and he needs to just get back in his rhythm and try to keep some track position, and maybe hope for a late race caution to where he can bolt on 4 new tires and go for the lead again.
Good point. Look at this back here. This is Wellman, TBB. That's Zimmerman back there. Kleinsmith 2x2, like the animals on the ark, like the ants marching in, if you will, is how they're lined up here at IRP, trying to sort that out up front. Then you see another battle on your screen. It's, boy, for what felt like a single file race for the first 100 laps or so, here with about 100 laps to go, has turned into 2 wide racing.
Yeah, a lot of 2 wide racing going on, starting to single file back out as everyone's starting to get sorted out, but definitely more aggressive and chaotic than we've seen all race long, as we got a side-by-side battle with the 4 right there, trying to clear himself off of turn 2, gets loose, but will be clear into turn 3.
Turn 3 clear he is. Tanner Mars up there just ahead of Wellman, and who is now side-by-side with Kleinsmith. Kleinsmith, one of the 1-sim team with Levine, with Edstrom, Derbyshire. Those guys all working together to try to have a great run tonight. Here's up front. This is Brian Zimmerman, the inside of TBB. We're good there. Now, Butcher Benjamin's now going to try and make the pass on Dalton Kilroe. Kilroe, who races Mondays in the ARCA car in the High Tide Racing League. You know, Rich, what I like about some of these guys, Kilroe, Larry Bell, Kyle Wellman, you can tell they love the car. They race this car 3 nights a week. They come in here and race it on Saturdays for part of SRA NAS Classic. They race it tonight in Blazing Pedals. They race it tomorrow in the High Tide Racing League. So you can tell these guys love the car. Now, even though the tracks might be different night by night, all that seat time has to be valuable, right? That's what you do in real life in your short track car. How valuable is the seat time no matter what the track is?
Yeah, it's super valuable. You know, every time you're on the racetrack, you should be learning something. Tight racing right there, going into turn 3. See if the 10 can make the move coming off of turn 4. It's going to be tough as the guy on the outside there is going to get that run. So definitely going to be tough to make that happen on the bottom. But yeah, going back to the laps, definitely important to log laps no matter what and get that experience. That definitely helps.
So let me show you the vast example of what I mean. Up ahead, that's Dalton Kilroe, ahead of Brian Zimmerman. This is 6th and 7th with P5 up ahead of them. Tomorrow night, Kilroe and the others in the High Tide Racing League take this same car to the Mid-Ohio Racecourse. So explain to someone how you get seat time practice when it's a short track versus road course. What could you possibly learn tonight that you could take into tomorrow?
Well, if some of the guys that you're racing tonight are in tomorrow's race, you can, learn their tendencies more and get more comfortable racing around them hard, which won't translate exactly to a road course, but you'll kind of know what their tendencies are. And, you might be able to use that to your advantage to make a move as we see what's going on for the lead here. Now, the 27's playing a really smart race right here. Austin Edstrom in the 87, he burnt his tires off a little bit, got a tire deficit to the 27, getting those tires too hot. And he's backed off his pace and keeping the 87 about half a car length off his bumper, putting all that dirty air onto him and not letting him get an opportunity to bring his tires back up to life.
So let's come back to the topic of tires too hot for a second. So when you say that, I think maybe if you have a family member or a friend watching at home, they think, hey, cool off those tires then, right? Back up and cool off those tires and try again. As boy, Zimmerman just almost sideswipes Dalton Kilroe. But the question I had is really, how feasible is it to cool off those tires in a race car once you quote unquote get them hot? How do you do it if you can? And what are the benefits of doing it? It's
difficult to do, especially when you're battling for the lead. And, you just got to be patient and, just know where you need to run. You got to run pretty much where the other guy is and keep some clean air on your nose at all times to not put too much scrub into the tire because that's going to translate to friction and heat. So you just got to be patient, drive it pretty smooth, and you don't necessarily have to back your pace down, but you just got to be driving it way easier.
Well, what's not happening, what's not easy right now is that battle you saw on screen between Brian Dees and Justin Levine. There was a little bit of body contact, a little bit of good old, maybe some playoff hockey body checks, if you will, going on there, but all is good. We're going to keep things moving forward under green flag conditions back to the field. This is Dustin Ping. He's now side by side with Kilrow. That's Brian Zimmerman back there. And they're almost 3 wide again. This has just gotten wild with how racing this race has got here. Is it just the temps cooling off? Is it people recognizing that the laps are now ticking down instead of up? Is it people feeling more confident in the car? A little bit of all three? What's going on here?
It's definitely probably all three. Obviously, the later on we get into the race, the more aggressive everyone's going to be because it's payout time. But, trying to get all the points you can get. The point battle is tight throughout the entire field right now. So every point matters, and you're going to see a lot of aggressive driving just the further we get into this race and we get closer to the end.
On back, there's Tanner Marr up top, almost ready to be passed by Kyle Wellman on the bottom. Wellman now to the inside, side by side through the corner. No surprise, Marr gets to run through the corner. That's been the theme all night, but Wellman's going to get the push off the corner until we got loose. That car wiggled pretty hard.
Yeah, a little too low on the apron there. D-wedging the car, just broke the right rear tire loose. If he gets back up there, he might stay a little bit higher than the apron. He'd probably be able to get that move done next time.
So it seems simple when we watch the broadcast cameras, right, to save that car and not spin it out when you wiggle that hard. But in reality, how easy or difficult is it to save that race car once it starts wiggling that much?
Turn 2 here is a little bit easier because the transition's a little smoother to the backstretch as we see a tight battle right there with the 81 who's coming back through the field after getting a penalty at the last restart. He's looking for a slide job that he's been doing all night long, gets it done there, setting his sights off the corner here, just trying to get the next guy in front of him. But there's a lot of bumps off of turn 4, so when you get loose off of turn 4, that rear end's never going to set down until pretty much you get back on the brakes. So definitely difficult to save the cars here, especially with the quick steering boxes they run.
Great job by everyone involved. There's Larry Bell on the bottom of that blue and red machine. We saw him spun around earlier. Glad to see him back around. Here is the 17. And he's been having a little bit of issue the past couple laps, and he's got it worked out here and back. Going again. Watch this replay, though. And what's going to happen with the turn-in? Got really slow. Just really, I don't know if he was trying to back out Rich and let someone by, or then he tagged the wall. Not sure what happened there.
Yeah, not really sure what happened there as well, but he'll be looking just to try to get back in his rhythm and see where he can keep getting. And, it's really hard to get back into your rhythm after you make a mistake because you can get super dejected super easily, as we see a lot of people making contact with the wall down the backstretch there.
So remember, a lot of these drivers in Discord rooms and voice chats with their teammates. So, for example, that battle you saw with Ping and Kilrow, those guys are teammates. They're able to talk it out. Here's Tanner Marr. He's part of Five Kings. That's him, Zimmerman, Gibson, Lagoon, and others on Five King Motorsports. But when you're got to get locked into this race, a long race, right, 250 laps around this track, every driver, I think, has a different way of doing it, right? Some drivers want to be in Discord with some friends. Some people want the silence. Some people like to pop in like AirPods and listen to music. How do you get locked into a short track race and kind of keep your focus?
I always mute Discord pretty much no matter what race I'm at, unless it's a super speedway. And then I'll talk to my teammates under caution or when we're talking about strategy, as we got contact right there. Hard racing, door banging through the center. They're probably going to be really tight coming off the corner here. The 41s are going to look to send it into the corner here and try to maintain his position so he can get that run down the backstretch. But definitely tight battling right there. Can't barely fit a piece of paper between them.
Surprised they've not had more contact. In fact, these guys are not teammates. That's Dalton Kilrow up in the MFRD number 41. And boy, these guys are racing hard. That's the battle on track for P7. Those guys are racing hard with about 80 laps to go here at IRP.
Yeah. Mark Arthur, as he gets the move done right there, he's had an up and down night, so he's probably not really caring too much about how he's racing people right now. Obviously, he doesn't want to make anyone get wrecked or anything, but he's going to be super aggressive trying to get track position that he feels that he should be in right now, as he'll set his sights on P6 Dustin Ping in front of him.
Well, for now, Arthur has pulled away and put a little bit of gap between himself and Kilrow. Now here comes Cody Gibson trying to make it. He pushed in a little hard and had to slide up the track to avoid making the contact. But all is good here on the track. No contact between those two drivers. And Gibson really is kind of all over the racetrack right now, trying different lines, trying to make something happen, trying to catch Dalton Kilrow.
Yeah, some hard racing right there. Obviously, everyone's trying to put pressure on everybody into a mistake. We got Austin Edstrom, I think, down pit road
that's
here.
Edstrom, yep. And, yep, a very good job. That's Austin Edstrom down. This will be the beginning of green flag pit stops. And this is not a surprise. We knew they were coming at some point, Rich. We knew no one could make it all 150 laps. And I guess we're seeing right now that that's Justin Levine. So lap 174 appears to be the breaking point.
Yeah, and just to know, Austin Edstrom only took 2 tires on that pit stop here. So it'll be interesting to see who takes 4 tires, who takes 2 tires, and who just takes fuel only. Try to minimize their time loss under green flag conditions here, as we got a tight battle with contact right there. Nice save by the 41.
So I'm just curious, when you watched Brian Dees take 2 tires earlier, now granted that was on a restart and a little different, but you watched Dees take those 2 tires earlier and you watched him fall through the field pretty quickly. How does that not kill your confidence of a 2-tire call? As we see Levine, by the way, I think the same thing, 11.5 second pit stop. But when you saw it happen once already tonight and you saw it not go well, how do you still talk yourself into the idea that that's the right call?
It's mainly because we are at a short track, and if you take 4 tires, I'm not exactly sure how many laps down you go, what the delta is on pit road, but I'm assuming it's going to be 2, if not close to 2 laps down by taking 4 tires. So, right. You know, your thought process there by just taking 2 tires is, you know, you're going to be a lap down regardless. But if we get that caution and you stay out, at least you can take the wave around, get back on the lead lap, and give yourself a shot if we do get that late race caution. Obviously, if you're 2 laps down, it's a lot harder to get back onto the lead lap, especially since we've had a lot of green flag racing tonight.
On top of all that, which is valid, is it also possible that just because race car drivers are stubborn and you can't talk about an idea they have in their head?
Yeah, I mean, we are definitely stubborn as race car drivers, so if we think something's going to work, we're going to try it regardless of what other people have done. So,
there you go. Well, there's Kleinschmidt on track. He is riding around here in that red, white, and blue Grid Vision car as he now rode up in the wall. He's 75 laps into this stint, and we are working at lap 179. So this is right now got to be about the time the pit stops are going to happen. But as these drivers are getting into the nighttime, well, you know that song says, when the sun goes down, we'll be grooving. We're going to be grooving to the sights and sounds of IRP. Let's sit back. We're going to lay back and let you crank it up and enjoy the sounds of the track. couple big wall hits for both Dalton Kilrow and for Brian Zimmerman in the last lap. Both tagged that wall. You saw them both there as we went full throttle there here on Green Flag TV. Once again, thanks for hanging out. Myself is Derrick Watson, Richard Regan Jr., the Premier Sim Racing Sim Gaming Expo Season 1 champion, next to me, calling the action. The birthday boy, Dustin Ollis, is in the production booth, pushing all the buttons, making us look and sound good as the night goes on. Pit stops are continuing. Larry Bell is now down pit road. We saw Cody Gibson was down under that time. We saw Joey Neese came down. And a big variance this time, Rich. We saw a lot of drivers taking 2 tires. You see 4 tires. So definitely not a consensus in this probably last set of green flag pit stops.
Yeah, it's definitely a toss-up on what strategy you want to try to make work. Obviously, we still have cars that have not yet pit. So they're going for the long run here. They're probably hoping that we get a caution and trap a lot of these guys a lap down. That'll pretty much give them a free pit stop at that point.
Well, there is the pits of how long they've been on the stint, pardon me. So the numbers there is how long it's been since they pitted last time by. So we're seeing some numbers grow up on the leaderboard. So right now on track, that's taking a look here. It's pretty far back. Let's go back to P9. Austin Edstrom, I believe, is the first one on track who has pitted. So 1st through 8th need to still come in and make that pit stop happen. So we'll see when TBB, Ping, Dees, Kilrow, and others do it. Now, the downside to staying out rich, of course, is the lap times, right? So last time by, for example, Austin Edstrom with 22.127. Last time by P2, Dustin Ping, 23 seconds flat. So we're losing about a second a lap, depending upon who you are and where you are on the track.
Yeah, for sure. And these guys that have the new tires, they're driving their hearts out right now, trying to make lap time. A couple laps ago, our leader before the pit stop started, the 27, he just set his fastest lap of the race overall, actually. And he actually is back on the lead lap now, at the tail end of the lead lap, back on the lead lap. So if a caution comes out, he'll be in a better spot than some of the guys that are still trapped a lap down. But we still got a lot of cars that have not pit yet, and I'm pretty interested to see what happens here.
So right now we're watching Hunter Lagoons go around the track and log some more laps here. Only about 60 laps to go. So the mentality of the drive right now, you're locked in. As you said, if you're Dalton Kilrow, you're hoping for the caution at this point, I would think. Because now you can really see the lights from the track beaming off of these cars. Here comes Matthew Kleinschmidt down pit road. That's P8. That's one more car off the lap. That's 88 laps, I believe, since he pitted last time by. So if this caution doesn't come out, which who knows it will or won't, but if it doesn't come out, Rich, is what Kilrow and Harmon and Dees and others doing, quote unquote, the wrong call, in your opinion?
It depends. If they stay out too long, it definitely can be the wrong call. If you don't have enough time to get that delta back to what you lost when you do get your new tires compared to everyone else when they had their new tires and you had your old tires, you're looking at about 6 or 7 tenths of a second difference in lap time. So we still have a lot of laps to go in this race, so they still have time. But if they wait too long, it's definitely going to hurt them.
Do you run the risk of maybe, as silly as it sounds, not having enough laps to take advantage of your new tires?
No, honestly, if I was in position of any of these guys that have yet to pit, I'd probably come down pit road within the next 2 to 3 laps. And I personally, for me, if anything later than that, it's kind of sketchy on if I'm going to have enough time to make use of my tires or not.
Well, running around here with about 56 laps to go. Still a number of cars up front yet to pit. That's TBB, Dustin Ping, Dalton Kilrow, Trevor Harmon. Those are the top 4. Austin Edstrom's in P5. So look at that number on your board and see how far back he is. It's about 15 seconds back to P5, but it is ticking down second by second here for Austin Edstrom. Here's Kyle Wellman again. He's, remember, substituting for Brad Lawson. We're having a good run here. There's Cody Gibson. We saw him involved in an incident earlier. He was sideways on the track, and here he is back in the battle just up in front of Justin Levine.
Yeah, definitely some hard racing like we've seen all night long. A great race tonight by everybody, doing an awesome job. Racing nice and close to each other, but giving them each other that room when they need it. Obviously have seen a few cautions tonight, but it's pretty impressive to see us go to a racetrack like this and have very little cautions tonight.
Yeah, it is impressive, right? I remember last week at Rockingham when we had the 2 cautions for the stages, so technically we're a little ahead of that tonight, but not by much. This has been a pretty amazing race, and here's Trevor Harmon down pit road. So he'll get that last, probably, at least under green flag, last pit stop in, unless something happens where they want to pit under a late caution. You would think this will be that final pit stop. So again, here's Wellman up front, and he's doing a great job of holding off this field here. It's like just a big line. In this moment, I almost start to wonder if Gibson may be a little faster than Wellman and just impatient. It looks like that is the case for Brian Dees. He's on the bottom of the track. He's going to dig to the bottom. The 17 versus the 7. And will not clear him, but we'll keep a battle here. Ooh, a little wall hit I think I saw back there for one of the cars.
Yeah, you can see these drivers still struggling with drive off the corner, but as that track temp keeps coming down, putting a lot more grip in the track, giving these race car drivers more options on where they want to run. As you see, a tight battle right there, looking almost three wide right now, coming off the corner. Big contact, and here's the caution that the leader was hoping for.
Wow. That's Brian Dees. That was, I believe, the Loves racing machine, I think it was, back there. Saw a car part on the track there. You're right, there's that caution. Everybody was saying Cody Gibson has some required repairs. We'll wait and see what that's all about. But it was Brian Dees. It was the 88 of James Efall and a couple others, I think, involved. Watch again. This is from Cody Gibson's point of view. That's Kyle Wellman. He gets bumped. Boy, Cody Gibson has had nowhere to go.
Same story we've pretty much seen all night long when we do have a caution. Sometimes these drivers make contact and everyone's still stacked up that there's just nowhere to go. And it's no fault to anyone tonight. Everyone's been doing a great job trying to get checked up for the wrecks. But when you put these race cars on this short track, they still have a lot of horsepower. As we're getting a side view of the incident right here, just a little bit loose, and then all the space closes up and there's just nowhere to go for those 3 cars right there.
Well, the call from race control has come down. They're going to assign the fault for the wreck to the number 85. That'll be who receives the end of line penalty here when we go racing again. Well, the question I have for you, Rich, for Cody Gibson is, obviously at Regenbogen Motorsports, you guys do some driver coaching, and I like to talk to new drivers as well from time to time. And we talk about things you can learn in every scenario, right? There's always a teaching moment somewhere usually in that moment. But when you're Cody Gibson and you come up on that wreck so fast, is there a teaching moment for Cody Gibson? And not for him specifically, but maybe for someone in that spot. What could he have learned about how to avoid that, if anything?
It's definitely hard to learn from that. I mean, he was on the brake as soon as they started spinning in front of him, but the 88 and the 17, they just came up the racetrack, part of the incident, and the 7 had nowhere to go. So it's going to be frustrating for him, as that most likely takes him out of this race with a lot of heavy front end damage. But he'll just have to look forward to racing next week.
All right, well, what you're seeing on screen right now, that's Austin Edstrom, the Taco Bell machine. He is being scored as the leader. The 85 will be given the end-of-line penalty. That car, there's a few cars ahead. That's Zimmerman, that's Harmon, that's Kleinschmidt. Those are cars that are on the end of the lead lap. So at 1 to go, they're going to be waved around. So they are not the leader. They will, right there, get their call to go. And so some of those cars going back in the lead lap, some of them just getting a lap back late in this race, just trying to kind of get themselves closer to the front here. But now let's run it through. It's Edstrom, Lagoon, TBB, Dustin, Ping, and Kilrow, your top 5. Zimmerman, Dees, Wellman, Levine, and Mark Arthur back in P10. And it looks like some of these drivers went ahead and pitted here, or pitted recently on lap 203. That would be, I think, Levine and Arthur. Let's see how that works out. Coming around here to the Geico restart zone. Green flag is out. Edstrom is out in front.
Yeah, pretty good start for him right there. We're going to be side by side through the center of the corner here for the lead. Edstrom edges out in the center, gets clear off of turn 2. He's going to just try to focus forward here, pull a little bit of a gap on the 27. But, that last run before the pit stops, they were bumper to bumper pretty much the whole time until about the last 10 laps where a lap car got in the way. But they pretty much know each other, and what they're going to do, as we're looking for a slide job right here from the 27, does not get it clear, and they're going to be side by side as they come off of turn 2 for the lead.
Side by side for the lead. Lagoon to the inside, Edstrom to the outside. Edstrom is going to get edged out. Lagoon
Looking
pulls
for a
up. Edstrom
crossover.
trying now to get to the bottom of the track. He'll try to do the cutover. And at the line, that's going to be Lagoon by a couple hairs.
Oh,
but now
contact.
Edstrom leaned on him.
Yeah, big contact right there. Edstrom got a little bit loose. I don't think it was intentional. We're looking 3 wide for the lead now.
Oh, Dustin Ping.
As we come into turn 3. Dustin Ping's been super aggressive all night. He's going to look to make that bottom work. Back to 2 wide for the lead, racing hard right now up front.
Oh, that's
big contact
close.
again.
They're not done. Boy, again, it's Lagoon. It's Edstrom. They're racing side by side. Here's Ping again. Ping is now going to push Lagoon up. Lagoon gets in front of Edstrom, and we're clean somehow. That should have been a wreck.
Oh, absolutely. Kudos to all these drivers. They're racing super hard, making contact, keeping it straight. It's a great show. I hope all the fans that are watching live on Green Flag TV are enjoying the show tonight.
Boy, oh boy, now here is Dalton Kilroy. He's going to try to get up under Austin Edstrom. He's going to try to make that pass, but up front now it's Lagoon, it's Ping, now it's Kilroy, your top 3.
Yeah, and let's not forget the 81 of Dustin Ping a couple cautions ago had to go start at the tail end of the field, so we'll see what he can do. He's probably be super aggressive trying to get the lead from this 27 right here, but the 27's been fast all night. 81's going to look for another dive bomb like he's been doing all night long. Doesn't get it done right there. Might be clear off the corner, but the 27's going to have a run and get his nose back in there.
Let's see if these two lean on each other as much as it happened before with Lagoon and Edstrom. Edstrom, by the way, has, I believe, some repairs he needs to do because he has got that marker next to his name, and I think he beat up that car harder than I think we thought he did.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for him. Tough break. He was having a great run, but sometimes that happens in these races, and he'll just look to use it as motivation for next week and come back stronger. As we still have a good battle right here for the lead, and the 41 is looking to make his name in the hat, throw his name in the hat too. As we got one wrecking on the bottom here, that's the 81. Got super
Dustin
loose off
Ping.
turn 4.
Yeah, that was driver battling up for the lead. That's Dustin Ping, who is now going to fall way back to the field. Watch this here. Oh, both drivers got loose, and Ping, that car is going to be damaged really bad.
Yeah, just a little bit of contact there to his right front, and unfortunately it sent him to the inside wall. He had a really bad night tonight. He was definitely fast, made his way up back to the front as we got a new leader right now.
Got a new leader up front, Dalton Kilroy, the driver number 41, MFRD machine. And that's what happened to Ping, just right there in the wall. And boy, what a hard hit.
Yeah,
so now
tough
up
break.
Front, Dustin Ping, the Florida native, is now up here trying to win. The mailman's trying to deliver himself a victory at IRP.
Yeah, and look at the 10 of Taylor Butcher Benjamin right there sitting in P3. He obviously played the long game before that caution came out, hoping to get the caution to flip his track position, and he's making great work keeping it in P3. As well as we got Justin Levine in the 5 running in the 6 right now. He was the Lucky Dog recipient on that caution, and he's making his way back up through the field.
Yeah, and also remember, Levine in the car behind him, Mark Arthur, that 12-bar machine. They pitted under this last caution. They're of this group up front. They're the only drivers who have done now. Mark Arthur and Levine are still a lap down, but I bring it up because I'm curious to see how good those new tires are. Can they get themselves unlapped? That's the question I would have, and that's what Levine's trying to do, right? He doesn't want to wait for the lucky dog. He's hoping if the caution comes out, he just kind of gets the lap back I guess we call it the old-fashioned way, right? Racing the leaders and having fun. But if you're someone up here right now, if you are, Ping, TBB, Lagoon, you kind of, I don't know if you're annoyed at Justin Levine for racing that hard, but you wish he wasn't, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're racing for a podium spot right here as we're going to get side by side for a second place between the 27 and the 10. 10 just doesn't have enough of a run off the corner yet to make it work. But yeah, the 10's going to get mad at the 5 here for putting up a lot of pressure on him, but the 5 needs to do what he's got to do to get his lap back.
This is Larry Bell up top in the main portion of your screen. This is the last time by. He's going to get in the back of Kleinschmidt. Oh, that's about 45 degrees, and they don't caution because Larry Bell sort of fixed what he broke.
Yeah, we've seen that a lot tonight. Great saves by a lot of the drivers, sometimes getting help, but keeping it green for tonight, and definitely a lot of green flag racing tonight.
I see those moments, Rich, right there where the car's about 45 degrees, and I think about my idea, and we talked earlier about your opinions of short track racing and what drivers in IRC, maybe the skills they don't practice enough. For me, it's that moment right there, right? It's what to do when that happens. the instinct, I think, as it is for some people when learning how to drive a real race or a real, everyday car, is to stomp on the gas, right? You get freaked out, you kind of stomp on the gas really hard. But both in your everyday car, your daily driver car, or in a race car, that's the wrong thing to do.
Yeah, it just depends on what situation you're in. Sometimes you can use the throttle to drive out of it, but sometimes, you got to use your brake and throttle or just the brake and lock it down. It just depends on what's going on, how your tires are, and pretty much the situation and what's around you. As Levine got around those guys, he's now going to set his eyes on the leader to try to unlap himself, as we still got a battle right here.
Yeah, battle indeed. There's Arthur. Remember, he is battling right here with Laguna. This is a battle, but it's not, because Arthur, remember, is a lap down. Slow as Levine is. Oh boy, Arthur got really slick out of the corner there. So now Lagoon, I would assume, is definitely frustrated, with all due respect. Right? He is now probably annoyed that he has 2 lap cars. We talked about this earlier. You have to respect that they're racing. Heck, you respect the fact that they're outpacing you. But in your mind as a driver, that doesn't matter. Data doesn't matter. It's emotions that matter. And the emotion is, he's in my darn way.
Yeah, he's frustrated right now that he had to be side by side with a couple lap cars, which cost him time. But if he can stay in front of this 10, Taylor Butcher Benjamin, those lap cars, if they catch the leader, they're going to slow him down too, unless the leader just lets him go. So he might be able to capitalize as we get later on into this run, as we're side by side for second. Great racing right now.
This is great racing. 26 laps to go. So this is getting into crunch time. This is go time, whatever sports metaphor you want to use. It's that time right now. TBB, that Rick and Morty car with the SpongeBob helmet, makes the pass for P2. Now he wants to try and run down Dalton Kilrow. It's about 1.6 seconds back from that black and green car up to our leader. We'll see if he can close that gap.
Yeah, and the leader's starting to get pressured from some lap cars. Going to be happening in a couple laps. Levine's rolling through the corners way better than the leader is right now. The 12 is also putting pressure on Levine. Battle for the lucky dog spot if we got the caution right now. But it's definitely going to be interesting to see what the 41 does, if he just lets these lap cars go and takes that time loss, or if he wants to battle them, which might make him lose more time and let the 10 close up into the battle for the lead.
So put yourself in that driver's seat. I know you are in that driver's seat often. What do you do here? Do you let them go? Do you sort of, maybe let up a little bit and kind of close that gap between you and second place? Do you keep racing them hard? How do you approach this situation as a driver?
I'm going to run my race right now the way I've been running it all night long. And if those lap guys, if they get to my inside and they want to start battling me, then I'll just lift a little bit to let them go, not lose too much time. But until they're side by side with me, I'm not lifting at all.
So I think this is probably an important thing. Of course, this weekend the iRacing service was the 24 Hours of Nürburgring. And on the road racing side, Rich, we both teach drivers, be consistent, right? Do what you do and let someone pass you. Don't try and, quote unquote, let them by. You'll only be in the way. And that's the thing that we saw all day long in the 24 Hours of Nürburgring. And now we're seeing it here as Kilroe's running his race and is letting these cars on by as Mark Arthur. Oh boy, if you're Kilroe and you can see that car of Mark Arthur getting that loose, you've got to be, what's the word, petrified, scared, annoyed, concerned?
Yeah, for sure. And you can see they were side by side for about half a lap, and look at the 10s right there now.
There he is. So with about 20 laps to go, in fact, I think with 20 to go this time by, that gap is closed. Remember I said it was 1.6 seconds, now it's 0.2 seconds. That one is gone, and the rest of it has dropped. So now the battle is close. And the problem for Kilroe, nowhere to go. Up ahead of him is 2 lap down cars who, right now, they're not lap down. Right now, they're end of the lead lap. What they're hoping for, more than anything probably, is that the caution comes out. They want a caution so they can get back involved in this battle and involved in this race. If you're Dalton Kilroe, you got to be smiling, by the way, because here you came in tonight second in points, and the driver you're trying to beat in points is just ahead of you, barely hanging on to the lead lap.
Yeah, we see the 10 get into the wall there off of turn 2. Now, one thing that's interesting is usually the leader has a huge advantage with all that clean air, but because Kilroe has those 2 lap cars in front of him, he's also at a disadvantage as the 10 is behind him with not having that clean air. So, the leader doesn't really get to dictate where the air is going on to second place right now, and I think the 10's just biding his time, waiting for his opportunity to strike and make a move.
And you have to think as well, to finish that thought, Lagoon, and back in third place, he's probably in the same boat, right? He's hoping that the 10 strikes, because all night long we've seen that if you strike and you miss, or if you strike and you wait, if you kind of lollygag around, so to speak, in that pass, you let other people bump in the battle. So if you're Hunter Lagoon, you've got to almost be hoping that the 10 car gets in there with Kilrow and starts fighting lap by lap here and lets him back in the battle.
Yeah, especially if you're Kilrow right now, you just got to make sure that Levine and Mike Arthur in the 12, they don't get side by side in front of you. You just got to hope they stay single file and start slowly pulling away from you as we're lapping another guy right there. This might slow up the 41 if he gets him in a bad spot, but if those two guys in front of him that are almost at the end of the lead lap, if they get side by side and Kilrow closes back up, that's going to hurt his time a lot too.
That's Brian D's up top, both first. Kilrow gets around. TBB, I believe, is going to clear out of the corner. That'll make a little bit of a gap here, but let's look at the opposite way. We keep seeing Mark Arthur get a little bit sideways. We've seen Levine get a little sideways here and there. But if you're Kilrow, boy, the two cars right in front of you while you're leading are looking a little sketch. Does that make you just more nervous? Because, if a wreck happens, you probably can't avoid it.
Yeah, absolutely more nervous. You see they're side-by-side, big loose again off of turn 2 for the 12. This is not what the leader wants to see right now at all, as he's going to have nowhere to put his car to get some clean air to turn off the corner, and the 10 is probably just smiling looking at this in front of his windshield.
Yeah, this is getting closer and closer for Kilroy. He's closed the gap on him. By the way, we're now 13 laps to go. The time is ticking by, about 6 or 7 minutes left at most of racing if we stay green before we approach the checkered flag. But boy, Kilroy keeps getting a battle, and hey, in some ways it's kind of cool because you're the first spectator to this amazing side-by-side battle. The downside is it could really blow up your race.
Yeah, I mean, obviously these guys in front of Kilroy are racing for position. They're racing to stay on the lead lap. They have every right to do it, but if I'm Kilroy right now, I'm absolutely furious to see what's going on in front of me, as I got somebody trying to race me down for the lead of the race as we get into the closing stages. And this is really going to start to slow down the 41 right here.
Oh, Levine's in the wall. He's sideways. There's another car up here. Oh, this is getting ugly. That's the 58. That's Joey Neese. I'm a little surprised. You and I have access to the iRacing Drivers Radio. We can hear what happens in the service when the drivers are talking. I am stunned that Dalton Kilroy is not having the Drivers Radio on fire right now. If I was in Dalton Kilroy's spots, I would be begging, pleading, bribing, manipulating anything I could to get these guys to move.
Yeah, you could look at it that way, but I look at Kilroy not saying anything on the radio as a very good sign that he's keeping his mind very calm and in a good mental mindset, just trying to log laps, do what he needs to do to keep the 10 of Taylor Butcher Benjamin behind him and not worry too much about these two cars in front of him.
Now we're down to the single digits, 9 to go. So for little by little for Kilroy, this gets closer and more achievable to winning this race. Rich, let me walk you through this to understand Kilroy's weekend. Last night he came in on the channel. He raced in the SRA NAS Classic race, which is ARCA cars. Then that was at Auto Club. Then he went and ran the 24 hours at Nürburgring in the meantime. Tonight he's here racing at IRP. Tomorrow night he races at Mid-Ohio in the ARCA cars. This is a wild and very different set of about 48 to 72 hours for Dalton Kilroy.
Yeah, definitely a very busy time that he's having right now with all those races that he's participating in. But honestly, it's showing that him having all that seat time is an advantage, because you can see how calm he's been so far with these lap cars that are trying not to go a lap down in front of him. As he's being super calm with the 10 putting pressure now, only 3 car lengths clear of Taylor Butcher Benjamin as we get into the about 5 laps to go here in this race.
Almost there. 7 laps to go is where we are. And there is Lagoon. By the way, he's looking back in that picture. That's that white and red car right there. He's got a yellow car, a lap car behind him. Lagoon, again, is probably hoping something does go wrong, because he probably has enough gap to clear it right now. You would have to think if something goes wrong that both the 10 and the 41 are right in the strike zone, so to speak. And then Lagoon may be able to kind of get woed up and make something happen. Up on the wall, that time buys Lagoon. Riding on board from the P3 position. Joey Neese, by the way, could not make it all the way, has come down pit road with about 5 laps to go. So he'll take another pit stop here. But boy, oh boy, for the last number of laps, this has been the Dalton Kilroy show. Let's watch on board with Taylor Butcher Benjamin. Watch the wheel inputs here. He's going to turn to the left a little bit. And turns it pretty darn hard, honestly, Rich. Are you surprised by the wheel inputs, or does that seem normal for where we are in this point of the race?
Definitely normal for where we are in this point of the race, especially that we're into the nighttime now, and the track temp has come down a little bit. So more grip in the car, a lot of rubber on the racetrack, old tires, so everyone's going to be sliding the right front a lot. But it's go time here. This is what we're racing for, is for the win, and he can smell it right in front of him.
Yes, it's that little bit of time. It's all that's up ahead of him. Dalton Kilroe, the Florida native, wants to win this race, wants to win an IRP, a very infamous track at one point raced by the Xfinity Series and the Truck Series in real life, while NASCAR Cup Series ran at the bigger track just across the way. Dalton Kilroe, 2 laps to go. Come around this time wide. We'll see the white flag. Can Kilroe hold on? Levine, by the way, he's the only one up there. Mark Arthur has pulled away. So the battle has kind of subsided. This must make Levine happy. 1 lap to go. 1 more lap for Dalton Kilroe. 1 more chance for TBD. Let's see what happens. Out of turns 1 and 2. Kilroe runs his line. Now up to the back of Justin Levine. No chance for Butcher Benjamin. Once again, down to the final corners. Butcher Benjamin tries to send it in, but not going to be able to get there. Dalton Kilroe, the 41, looks for his win, and he gets it, an IRP.
Yeah, great job by Kilroe there, keeping it calm under pressure pretty much the last 20 laps of that race. He definitely earned that win tonight, and he played the strategy pretty good, got aggressive when he needed to, made the moves when he needed to, and he comes away with the victory tonight.
Wow, what an impressive run. What a great run overall by these drivers. You hinted at earlier, lots of green flag racing, only a couple of cautions at a track where maybe sometimes you expect a little bit more. Let's watch Dalton Kilroe come around. The Florida native's going to burn it down. They'll get their grid photo with the top 3. But first, Kilroe lights up the front straight.
Yeah, definitely earned that celebration here tonight. Doing a pretty good job doing a burnout there. Looks pretty good.
Got it locked down there. He's got to see how far he can run it. There's been this tradition lately in some of our leagues on the Green Flag TV of almost how far can the driver get the burnout to go, right? How far before you have to stop or you do stop, and that's pretty far.
Yeah, doing pretty good there. His engine temps probably aren't too bad as we're at a short track, but I think he'll be able to get pretty good. Yep.
The tire temps are probably a little different. Let's take a look at the finishing order and see how everyone lined up. So here it is, your winner, Dalton Kilroe, first place. And then Tanner Butcher Benjamin, 3/10 of a second back in P2 with Hunter Lagoon in P3. Dustin Ping and Brian Zimmerman round out your top 5. Then it's Arthur, Levine, Harmon, Wellman, and Kleinsmith rounding out your top 10. All these cars here on back, a lap or more back. Larry Bell, 1 lap down. John Perkins, 2 laps down, as well as William Bruton, Brian Dees, Joey Neese, 4 laps down at P15. And then Edstrom, Efaw, Gibson, Marr, and Moody start to get back from the cars that did not finish the race, as is Derbyshire, Rick Thompson, Jess Hadley, and Mike Masson Gill. That's a look top to bottom at tonight's unofficial result. Well, Rich, I think you hit on some of the key points tonight. Maybe surprised by how clean the racing was, but what's maybe your biggest takeaway from this race?
Yeah, definitely very surprised at how much green flag racing we had tonight. It's very awesome to see. Not very often we get to watch a race like that at this short of a racetrack with these heavy of a race cars, be able to get pretty much a lot, like mostly green flag racing. So good to see that. Very impressed with how these drivers battled each other all night long, racing super hard, super aggressive, but also keeping it clean. Couple of incidents here and there, but realistically, most of them were just little mistakes or hard racing, and I think everyone did a really good job tonight.
Yeah, great job. Top and bottom, I do believe. Well, let's take this time and let's catch up with the man who's done probably more racing in the past 24 hours than some people do in a week of iRacing. He did the SRA NAS Classic. He did the 24 Hours of Nürburgring. And then he came out and won in the Blazing Pedals ARCA League at Lucas Oil IRP. Dalton Kilroe, you are our race winner.
Yeah, didn't think that was going to happen, especially because I hate this track and wish it burned to the ground. But yeah, I'll take a win.
So talk to us about the race tonight. Obviously, a few key factors, led to this moment. Probably the side-by-side battles with Edstrom and others. But what do you think led to you coming out in victory lane tonight?
Well, it was definitely the strategy gamble to stay out on that long run, even though I was just bleeding time to everybody that pit with like 75, 80 laps to go. I mean, I wasn't going to be able to make it. Nobody was. It was just kind of praying that there'd be a caution, and unfortunately, it was a teammate. But that caution definitely saved it and allowed us to come in, get fresh tires, and basically just fight between myself, TBB, and Dustin Ping, who was with us tonight. And,
yeah, I had a great time.
That battle with Lagunas was intense, just because I knew he was going to be fighting hard on the older tires, try to hold position. So as soon as I got the chance, I had to throw the slider to try to get clear, and sure enough, it worked, and was able to just hold on enough, even when lap traffic tried to put me in the fence like 5 times. So after dealing with that, just holding off the teammate, still brought home a 1-2 for MFRD, and glad to be done with this terrible track.
So I have to ask you, I don't know the answer, or if I do, I don't remember. How was your 24 hours on Nürburgring?
Never again. Never again. Wait,
okay.
we had a couple meatball sandwiches, if that makes any sense.
It does. What car did you drive?
We drove the Beamer.
Oh, nice. All right. Well, you exit the car tonight. Tomorrow night, it's Mid-Ohio with the High Tide Racing League. A much different track. What are you looking forward to?
The checkered flag.
Fair enough.
Because from what I hear, it's not going to be fun. And like you mentioned when you were bringing me up into the booth, I've done so much racing this weekend. It's not even been funny. So I'm just excited for Tuesday, because Tuesday I have nothing, no racing, no race control, none of it. I can just relax. My feet have blisters on the bottom of them that are like on the verge of peeling off. So,
it reminds me of it was the Beatles. Is it? Is it? I'm the Walrus with the I've got blisters on my fingers and the opening with Ringo Starr, but sort of the same idea.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
No, you're so uncultured. You are.
I know.
An uncultured.
I know.
What you are is a winner. Congrats on your win. Anyone you want to say thank you to or give a shout out to?
Oh, I already mentioned them, but I'll mention them again. Thank the rest of MFRD that was here tonight. D's unfortunately being the sacrifice that ended up saving our race, and then TBB and Dustin for racing clean but racing hard. Everybody in the field for putting on making this racing out here what it is. You guys for the broadcast for us, Ohio and Indiana Roofing, Hilton Crafts and Designs, and everybody else at Beep Trail for making this league what it is.
All right. Well, you've done enough racing the past 24 hours. Go get some sleep, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.
Sounds good, man. Thank you.
That's Dalton Carroll, your race winner. Came out P1. Now, let's see. I believe that our Richard Regan Jr. has caught up with third place, Hunter Lagoons.
Yeah, Hunter, great job tonight. You definitely had a fast car early in the race. Talk me through what happened to get you back in the pack a little bit, and what were your hopes there at the end?
Well, I was hoping we wouldn't get a yellow, but unfortunately we did. And because I took my last set there with, I think I pit in on like 180, 185, something like that. I was just trying to run down Austin. I knew I could get him. If we went green, I knew I was gonna win that race. But unfortunately, we had that yellow, and I tried to hold on, but I couldn't. I didn't have nothing for Kill Row and TBB there. I held on pretty well, but I'm not enough to win.
Yeah, sometimes that's how it goes. Now, let me ask you, what are some of your key takeaways from tonight? What are some of the things that you learned on the racetrack about how these cars drive, and especially with how we transitioned into the nighttime here? How'd the track change?
These cars are a lot better on a short track, I'll tell you what. I'm not really a huge fan of these cars on 1.5 miles. Gonna have to learn how to gonna have to learn how to run these things and just get better throughout the season. Tonight, no, I just needed to save that set, you know what I mean? So I have to keep that in the back of my mind for the rest of the season.
Yeah, for sure. Now, as we look forward to the rest of the season, do you have any tracks that are coming up on the schedule that you feel are going to be places where you're looking to go check off a win and where you think you'll be really strong at?
I know we're at Sonoma here in a few weeks, so that'll be really looking forward to that. I like that track. So we'll see.
Awesome. Sounds good. Well, definitely looking forward to see what you can do at Sonoma. You got anybody that you'd like to give a shout out to tonight?
Yeah, sure. Chris Carroll, Pit Lizard Performance, Cody Gibson, everyone over there at Five Kings, Zen, Tanner, Larry Bell, Wallman. Thank you guys for putting this on there for the stream. I know you guys came in, I think, a few weeks ago, 4 or 5 weeks ago. Thank Mark and all the admins over there getting this league together. You know what I mean? But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, great job tonight, Hunter, and we'll look forward to talking to you at the next race.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a good night.
Hunter, good. You finished P2, or finished P3, pardon me. Let's not catch up with the driver who finished P2. Taylor, Butcher, Benjamin. Well, the man with 3 names finished second. Could not quite get up to first, but Taylor, you had the best seat in the house for a lot of the late race action.
Yeah, I sure did. Well, I mean, it really started with the strategy call because with about halfway, I'd already used 3 sets, so I'd planned to run long anyway. So that caution we got with the 17 and the 85, that really got me up there and trapped those guys behind a lap down and gave us an edge on tires. And but then I thought I still was in a position of strength with that restart, but they got to racing each other, and then I just couldn't get around Edstrom in time, and then I couldn't get around Lagunas in time, and Dalton had been started to check out, but then I caught back up to him with I think it was Mark and Levine racing for the lucky dog, but just kind of ran out of time and ran out of tires, and I didn't want to just punt my teammate for the win either. So pretty good effort for the both of us. I didn't hear Dalton's interview, but him and I both aren't much of a fan of this racetrack, but we still made the most of it. And
Yeah,
MFRD 1-2 was awesome.
I believe his words were, "This place can burn to the ground." I believe what he said in the interview.
Yeah, I can picture him saying something like that. But
That's a very Dalton Kilroy comment, isn't it?
absolutely.
Well, listen, a great run tonight. Congrats in bringing that Rick and Morty Pickle Rick car home in P2. And I guess we'll see you in 2 weeks at Sonoma.
Yep, we'll do. See you guys then.
That is our second place finisher. Well, Rich, tonight you could say some drivers had some ups and downs as they moved up and down the field. But in 2 weeks, remember, we're off next week for Father's Day. In 2 weeks, these drivers will have some literal up and downs because in 2 weeks' time, this race league goes to Sonoma. What a challenge that will be for these ARCA cars.
Yeah, Sonoma, very technical road course. Very fun road course if you're comfortable there. Definitely going to be a great race to watch. All the uphill, downhill braking zones. Obviously, a lot of fast corners there. A lot of shifting that's going to be going on. So definitely think the next race at Sonoma is going to be fun to watch.
Well, as we wrap up tonight's coverage, I want to first off say thank you to the birthday boy, Dustin Ollis, for pushing all the buttons down in the production truck. Thank you to Richard Regan Jr. for stepping in and providing great color analysis on the night. And I am Derrick Watson saying thank you so much for watching here tonight. If you've missed any part of tonight's race, you can catch this race and every race from the Blazing Pedals ARCA League here on the Green Flag TV YouTube channel. Once again, congrats to our winner, Dalton Kilroy, a winner at Lucas Oil.